which are just like literally full plate armors for the characters. So we're gonna be working with Sil. And if you've never heard about the series, if you've never heard about this, don't worry. We're just gonna be doing a very pretty, very nice, stylized female character. So you're gonna be able to learn a little bit about stylized sculpting as well. It says right here, Astrosynth, hi there, I already subbed you on YouTube and this is my first time live stream. I attending and thanks for reminding I should start reading books. Yes, reading, and this is one of the things that I've mentioned before. And we talked about this on the last 7 tips or 7 things you should know as an artist. The more you learn about the world, the more you're going to be able to incorporate that information into whatever things you do, right? And reading, so amazing. Like, thanks to this guy right here, I've been starting to write myself. I don't intend to be like a full-time writer or anything, but just writing for fun and being able to express your ideas and have them in paper has been really, really fun for me for the past couple of months. And again, like doing anything, doing sports, reading, painting traditionally, photographs, visiting museums, like every single thing that you do in the real world can translate into the digital world because you learn and you experience the world. You also open yourself to opportunities to network and to know opportunities and see other types of things in the world, right? So it's very important that we of course do what we do here on the computer and learn about the softwares, but also try to always push yourself and learn about more things in the outside world or in the real world, because that's going to help you grow as an artist as well. So there you go. Harsh Nalawith says, do you have an animation course? No, I don't. I'm not really an animator, but we're thinking about, well, this is not anything new, right? But we've been thinking about how to expand the portfolio of classes that we're offering. And I got one very good friend of mine who's an animator, and I've been talking a little bit with him about what we could do and stuff like that. So maybe later this year, we're going to have a couple of extra courses of the things that I don't normally do. Harambe says, qué bonito saber que también leíste el archivo. Jera me lo recomendó y a partir de ahí dije, oh, vamos a ver. Sherlock says, juramentada tiene los mejores Black Fantasy del espíritu Gusten. Soy Jera, por cierto. Ah, ahí está, justamente ahí está Jera. Yeah, it's thanks to this guy, this Sherlock Holmes right here. He was the one who introduced me to the books, and I've been in love with freaking Brandon Sanderson. I'm probably going to be taking a break because I want to read other things, but yeah, that's it. Yeah, Burke, no, the idea is to have more people work with me and together create more courses, because it's going to be impossible for me to teach you everything, right? So, yeah, today we're going to start just with Sil. That's it. So, this is an amazing illustration. Let me show it to you. Where is it? There we go. So, this illustration right here is by Ina Wong. I'm sure it might be in one of the books or something. It's so good. So good. I love this illustration because it shows both what's the word, Kaladin, which again is one of the main characters, and it shows Sil. Before this, I've read a bunch of fantasy books on my life, to be honest. I cannot copy that. That's weird. Give me 1 second, guys. What was the last book that I read before that? That I was like really impressed with? I don't remember. Let's go. Okay, there we go. So there's a bunch of different interpretations. This was the one that I liked the most. There we go. So we got Sil there with Kaladin. This Kaladin kind of looks like freaking, what's his name? Jason Momoa. I hope they don't cast him. They're not gonna cast him. You guys want to know how famous these books are? I didn't know how famous they were, but if you want to know how famous they are, Henry Cavill, you know, the guy that does Superman, he actually called Brandon Sanderson and asked him if he could do Kaladin for any movie adaptation or series. And Brandon Sanderson told him, like, no, man, like you're too old, because Kaladin's supposed to be younger, and what's the word? And you don't fit with the ethnicity, right? Because it's supposed to be of Middle Eastern descent. Yeah, that was fun, right? Okay, there we go. Petro says, I want to make some money on freelance based on my portfolio. Where do I start? I'll need to look at your portfolio to get a better idea on where you are in a level. But one of the things, 3D printing is big right now. There's a lot of like 3D printing opportunities. I've actually been doing quite a bit of like nice little money on the side by doing 3D print. Sometimes it's very stupid 3D print. Like yesterday, my brother, he literally told me, "Hey, I wanna like give this to a friend of mine, and he wanted me to print a Dundee Award from the office. It was very fun, and the file was online, so I literally just printed it, painted it with some like air spray cans that I have, and oh, Martin David, the happy birthday is for David, not for me. It's for David. My birthday is coming up in August, so I printed this Dundee Award, and it was what, like, I just charged him like $25 or something. So it's quick, fast little job right there, and you get some nice little money. Hi from Russia. Hi, my friend. Welcome. Welcome to the stream. What are we doing today exactly? Today, we're going to be doing Sil, which is this spren. So, without spoiling again too much, in this world, there is this things called spren, which are like the embodiment of emotions or of abstract things. So, for instance, when you get very angry in this world, the little like wispy things start coming from beneath the ground and around you, and they're called anger spren, right? So they manifest. Your anger manifests through this little ephemeral things. If you're very sad, or if you're very happy, things like that. The wind, for instance, has wind spren, and there's a lot of different sprens on the world, and again, they're just like manifestations of abstract things that inhabit this world. There's a whole like explanation on why this happens, but I'm not gonna spoil it. You gotta read the books for that. Now, it is a long book, though. It's like 1,200,000 pages or something. Like it's quite a big book. Yeah, we're gonna do more of that, Burke. We're gonna do more analysis of games in these next couple of weeks. But today, since I just finished Words of Radiance, I was just like feeling hyped. Like, oh, let's do a little bit of this. Okay, so when we're doing characters, I always like to start with this blocking. Some people might be like, hey, why aren't you starting with like a base mesh? Wouldn't it be easier? And of course, base meshes are really good for production because they save a lot of time. But especially when you're learning, I always recommend to start from scratch, because when you start from a base mesh, what ends up happening is that you end up with a very similar result to to everything that everyone else has done with that base mesh. So it's like going to the supermarket and buying a box of pre-made cake mix. If you prepare that cake, I always use food analogy, what the hell? If you prepare that cake, then what's gonna happen is that cake is gonna taste exactly like the same as everyone else's cake, right? So it's important that you try to do things again from your own sort of like perspective, so that you get things that look more original to what everyone else is doing. So what I'm doing here is I'm just gonna do the main masses. So this is the head, of course. I'm just blocking it the very like brief or very like simple silhouette of the head, and these are gonna be like the shoulders and the torso. We're gonna do a bust. I'm thinking about 3D printing this and maybe painting it. That would be very cool. And for this, we're just gonna do sort of like that, like the rib cage, right? So the rib cage goes probably like right around there. We're gonna do a little bit of the dress. I love this dress. Kind of looks like a wedding dress. And we're gonna draw the pit of the neck right there. There we go. Let's see. Mike, I think I missed your first message, man. Oh, no, it says, hello, Ave and chat. I just finished watching your tips and tricks video for Substance Painters, trying to learn it. Yeah, if you want to learn more about Substance Painter, man, I just released a course like 6 weeks ago or 2 months ago, which is like the complete guide to Substance Painter. That one has all of the information that you need to really understand the software. And we do a very cool exercise. We do Dor the Dwarf, another sort of like fantasy character. There we go. So here I'm gonna use again clay builder just to build where the shoulders would be. And I'm gonna do a little bit of the arms, because when we do the breast area, the pectoral major, which is one of the muscles that we have on the chest area, it goes towards the arm. So if we don't have an arm, it does become a little bit difficult to find the elements. Later on, we're gonna cut this, right? So for those of you that don't know, I mean, pretty much everyone should know about it. If you're in Europe, you've seen this everywhere. Here in Mexico, we don't have as many, but there's this busts, right? So the bust is just the face and a little bit of the chest area. So I'm thinking about going probably like this, or like this one right here. As you can see, his face, a little bit of the chest area, and of course the shoulders. That's gonna be the idea for today's stream, because it's gonna be tricky. Female anatomy is a little bit tricky because you need to be a little bit more subtle than what you normally do with male characters. Hello, Daddy Streams, welcome to the chat, man. There we go. Love your face retopo video. I have problems with sculpting eyes. Can you just elaborate when you will do that? Yeah, of course. We're gonna be doing eyes for this model. Now here, what I like to do is I like to like mark my center lines, just to get an idea of where things are gonna be, and whether or not we are being proportionate. Female necks. One of the things that you can do with female necks is you can make them a little bit longer, just a tad bit longer, not too much, just a little bit longer. And you start getting a little bit of this Barbie effect, right? Where things just look a little bit more stylized. There we go. Have too much muscle right here, so I'm gonna remove a little bit. That's the latissimus dorsi. And then this is our center line right here. And we're going to have something that's very important, which is called the ribcage border. So all of this right here is going to be the ribcage border. So when you see it from the side, of course, we're going to have the breasts right here. But there's always going to be a little bit of a border right there. Yes, normally, Anjana, I like to sculpt everything in a T-pose first. And then after I'm happy with how it looks, I do the pose. This is just from a production standpoint. If I ever need to do anything else with this, for instance, continue the body and do a full character, it's easy to continue from a character that's not posed, opposed to a character or like compared to a character that is posed. Females usually, actually, we should get some reference. Do I have? Let me see if I have an old reference file. I'm just gonna be very careful because I cannot show nudity. It's unfortunate. It would be cool if we could like mark this. Well, the stream or something like, hey, we're gonna be doing art. There's anatomy, so it's gonna be a little bit of nudity reference. Let me see. Check. Okay, perfect. I actually got some really cool ones right here, and there doesn't seem to be any nudity. So as you can see, in female characters, you are gonna see a lot of the collarbone. It's very common to see like an intense collarbone right there. And we're gonna be doing things a little bit stylized, not super stylized. So I got a couple of references here from other sort of like 3D prints. This is a little bit of the reference that I use for Gabala. Some of you guys might remember that course. Just gonna be improved with the new 3D printing course that we're gonna be having, hopefully this month. There we go. So over here, that one was a little bit too high. So let's push this a little bit lower. Right around here. We're going to have the clavicles going towards the acromion process, which is right at this area right there. Let's add a little bit of the volume for the ears. I feel like the head's a little bit too big. She's got, at least in the concept, it's not like super sharp face. It's more like a round face. So we're gonna profile this part right here. Get a nicer, rounder head. Most of the ears are not gonna be seen because she's gonna have the hair. And now I'm gonna start carving in where the eyes would be. The nose, of course, is gonna be on this area. And remember, these are just basic forms. This is one of the things that I always struggle when explaining things to my students. You don't want to rush to the final like details like pores and wrinkles and things like that. You gotta focus on the like main like planes and shapes first. Because if you do that, then everything else that you're gonna be building is gonna look good. And if you don't, the wrinkles might look good, but all of the underlying form might look a little bit weird. So the female head, has this very sort of like round factions, round elements. Get a little bit of a chin right there. Not too much. Yeah, I'm actually recording the course right now, my friend, the anatomy course. And the way I like to handle it is I explain where and what the muscles are first, like what muscles we're going to be sculpting, and then we sculpt them. So understanding the form and the function of the muscles, at least for me, has really helped with understanding the overall. Do I have perspective? Kind of looks like I have perspective. The overall function of the anatomy of a body. Change the sound. That one's too boring. There you go. So this is it's a little bit like an écorché approach where I go through the basic shapes first, and then we refine. I'm not a huge fan of écorché, to be honest. I find it too technical for what we do. Because remember, at the end of the day, we're not doing like medical illustrations or anything. So how precise we are is not that much of an issue. It's more about how everything looks at the end, right? Like the final result. But I am going here for the planes of the face. So I've always recommended the Anatomy for Sculptors book. That one's a really good book to understand the whole thing. There we go. So the forehead in female characters again tends to be quite round. And the profile, you get this sort of like nice, clean, round profile. References again is always important. So for instance, if you look for Disney female character design, you're gonna see that most of the times when they heavily stylize their characters, they go for this very round effect. Don't use this, guys. If you're looking for reference, my friends, one of the best advice I can give you, do not use AI for reference. Using AI for reference can teach you bad things because it might have errors that look really interesting on the picture but are not really right, and if you translate those errors into your objects, you're gonna have an issue later on. So do not use AI. There you go. For instance, all of this, like, look at that. That's Anna's character sheet, and you can see the curvature that we have here. Now, this is quite exaggerated. You can see that the nose goes really down. We're not going to go that direction, but just so that you understand that there's always a little bit of that. What would you use most to create a Star Wars Stormtrooper type character? Mask, Simulator, or maybe Blender, not ZBrush? Oh, that's a great question. I've seen some people doing the sculpt inside of ZBrush, and then like retopologizing and cleaning things up. I'm not a huge hard surface guy, to be honest. So if I had to do it, I would probably do it in Maya because I use Maya the most. So I would probably do it in Maya and try to sculpt it traditionally. Like get a front view, get a side view, try to get everything super low poly and smooth subdivide everything. There we go. The chest is definitely way too low, so we're gonna bring it forward a little bit right there. And this huge mass over here, we need to push it in. The body always has this sort of like gesture to it, right? Like there's always a little bit of movement on the body. I don't want to make her like super athletic, so let's push. I think the arms are a little bit way too far out. Usually on a female character, the top part is a little bit narrower than on male characters. Male characters have this sort of like triangular sort of shape, and female characters, again, traditionally, we see them as this sort of like hourglass figure. And one thing that's very interesting, you can see right here, on female characters, you're gonna see a little bit of a bump here on the shoulder muscles. So they're a little bit like sharper. I always like to use this example. If you remember Rachel from Blade Runner, she's wearing a specific piece of clothing, which is this one right here. There we go. And this kind of suits that women used to wear, again, back in the, what, 50s, 60s? I don't know, 20s, 30s. These ones are meant to emphasize that effect, that the female characters usually have this sort of like a sharper shoulders. This one, there you go, look at this. You can actually see it right there. You can pretty much see the whole bone, and then the big sort of like shelf of the shoulder muscle. So that's what we're trying to capture right here. So we're gonna flatten that a little bit more there. And there we go. Yeah, I printed this Stormtrooper helm. But I didn't do the model. I got the model online. So this was one of the first tests that I did for the new printer. And it's like, it really works. It's for a cosplay, I think. So you can really fit everything here. And this was printed in 2 pieces, so it was like the top part and then the bottom part. I still haven't finished it. I need to print it, but yeah, it's like it's not that I don't like hard surface. It's just that I like characters more, so that's why I do more characters. Have you ever used Mari? I did when I was a student. I did. They taught us Mari because Substance Painter at that point was just starting. Like it was a very sort of like new software. So I originally learned how to do or paint inside of Mari. I haven't used it in years. Like I think it's been more than 6 years since I last used Mari. So I'm not going to be able to give you an informed opinion on it now because I haven't seen what it has now. But I know that for like very big workflows, very big pipelines such as film, right? When you need a lot of UDIMs, it's really, really good. I think, well, again, back in the day, you baked everything. So you had this sort of like glass pane, and you would like bake everything down into the layer. So I'm not sure if that's still the way to do it. How many hours did it take you to print? I think it was like 34 hours. It was like 12 and then like 14 hours. So it was like a day and a half, probably. Anatomy for you can look it up, man. Just look at anatomy for sculptors, and it's there on Google and everything. Okay, now here something that happens with the neck, and it happens to me quite frequently, is that instead of having this sort of like straight neck, we start getting this effect where it looks a little bit like slanted. I always recommend have like a very straight neck, and then if you want a thin neck, just push it in. But you always want to have this sort of like very straight line coming down. That's very, very important. We definitely need to add the breasts now. So the breasts are fat, glands, and the connective tissue that's attached to the pectoral major muscle. And it's sort of like this teardrop shape. So it goes from the armpit in this sort of like teardrop shape. And then, of course, there's a bunch of different types of breasts, right? Some of them are small, some of them are big. Some of them are a little bit saggy. Some of them are more firm. So there's a little bit of everything. You need to check on what kind of character you're working with. But very importantly, you need to understand that the clothing will also change quite a bit. So for instance, this dress that she has, it kind of looks like a corset. So it might be applying a little bit more pressure on the form of the breasts. And that's what we're getting a little bit more of a puffy effect. So eventually, once we add the dress, we're going to be doing some changes. No need to over fixate on things, guys. I know as humans, we tend to be very drawn, like I guess maybe as an instinct or something, we're drawn towards like sexual things. But it's important, especially in art, to be professional about it. There's gonna be the sternocleidomastoideus muscle that goes right there. There we go. So not bad for a first blocking of what, like 20 minutes or something. And this is something very important, guys, that I want to emphasize. Whenever I'm doing like the videos or the shorts for the channel, I need to be very optimized, and I do a lot of cutting, I do a lot of editing to make sure that it's entertaining and you guys can learn in a short amount of time. But when you're working in production, this rhythm that I'm taking right now, this is the rhythm that you're gonna be like usually like working with. I know there's this other guy here on YouTube, I think his name is a Speed Character or something, and he does like full characters in 2 hours. And yeah, that's very cool, and it's quite impressive that he can manage to do a lot of that stuff. But you're not expected to work. Imagine if he had to work at that rhythm for 8 hours every day. He would burn out like very, very, very quickly. So don't like just be mindful that there's always like things take time. I guess that's my main sort of like message that I want to convey across right now. Things take time, and it will take you time to get to where you want to be in an artistic sort of like or from an artistic perspective, if you wish. I'm still zooming. There we go. Now, what do you prefer to do for a first portfolio project? The first portfolio project that I did was a room. I think it was like an abandoned room. No, it was actually a realistic room, like just a living room, because you had to practice with furnitures and couches and things like that. So that was my first portfolio piece, and I actually do recommend that one. However, since I know people love video games, weapons like a sword or an axe, like the blender axe that we have, that one's a great way to start your portfolio as well. It's very important to see your sculpt from all of the angles. So bottom angle, top angle, all the angles. Now here, what I like to do is what I like to call a sort of like scale checks. Like, is the head right where it's supposed to be? Is it too long? Is it too small? Is it too big? And for stylized, I think we're a little bit high. So I'm just going to push it in or down a little bit more. There we go. Now we can start jumping in resolution. So we're going to jump here in resolution, and we definitely need to add the eyes. And for the eyes, eyes are tricky. And again, female eyes can be quite tricky as well. So let's add these spheres. I think Nikolai makes the same model behind the scenes beforehand, so he's prepared to make it again faster. Wow, that's... I mean, I'm not sure if that's how he does it, but if he does that, that's quite impressive that he, like, does it twice. But yeah, like, I do the same... Well, not the same thing, but similar things when I'm teaching my classes or when I'm recording my premium courses. If I need to, I'll do the exercise once or twice so that when I explain it, it flows a little bit better and nicer and I don't get stuck or anything. So for stylized characters, I'm going to do a little bit of a bigger eye right there. You know, Disney characters usually have a little bit of a big eye. We're going to mirror. And now we need to find the shape of the eye. So we're going to have the upper eyelid right here. And we're going to have the lower eyelid. Is it necessary to show an environment in a portfolio per a character artist? No, not really. But again, it's I mean, if you already have it, fine, just show it. But if you don't have it, then maybe a weapon or things like that might be a better for a first piece. Now the shape of the eye. Let me go here to Photoshop. So when you're doing the eye, you have the eye, right? The eyeball. And a lot of people just do this. And that sucks. So what you need to do is do a little bit of a segmentation right here. So you're going to have one side, flat side, lower side. And then it's going to be the same thing on the other side. So 1, 2, and 3. And then you can smooth it out. But you can see that happens right here. And there's usually an angle. So on the top eyelid, you're going to have the little high point closer to the center, like this. And on the outer eyelid, you're going to have the little corner down here. So this is the corner, and then this is the other corner. So right now, yes, I just did that right there. But now I'm going to start, like, tweaking things. And modifying them. So they give me this sort of, like, again, flat look. And I always... this is always a little bit tricky to explain this, but it's going to look horrible. Like, right now, the character is going to look horrible. And as we keep polishing, it's going to look better and better. So... you gotta trust the process. It's very, very important. Here on the inside of the eye, we're gonna have a little bit of a hollow space. Not too much in the case of this stylized character, but there's gonna be a little bit of a hollow space. And then we go into a sort of like, well, it's concave, and then we go into this convex shape right there. There we go. When are we gonna have an Unreal course? Probably after the creature course. I've been playing a little bit with Unreal lately again. It's been a while. I don't like that. Whenever I don't like something, like the nose right there, sometimes it's better to just start from scratch than trying to fix something that just does not work. So don't be afraid of starting over if you don't like something. I haven't done a female character in a while, so this is definitely a good opportunity to bring back and to relearn some of these things. I don't do a lot of female characters now that I think of it. And it's not because I don't want to, it's just the like the projects that I've been working on lately, they don't really require it. There we go. Yeah, the idea is to have the anatomy course for May, and then it's probably gonna be the creature course for June, and then the environment course. Now, another thing that I recommend is if you're not working on an area, just simplify it. For instance, the mouth right now, it's not finished, and that like weird lips that I sculpted, they're just making me more anxious because I see them unfinished and I kind of want to finish them, but I'm not working there at this moment. So it's better to just sort of like simplify it and smooth it out so that we don't have to worry about it. Let's change the shape of the face a little bit. Now this one, it's almost a front view, so I should be able to match things like nicely right here. You can see that she's got a little bit of a, like the cheekbone is a little bit more intense, more prominent. Go. It's just the main volumes that we're adding right now. Kumars, what's up, man? Welcome. I'm doing great. Another thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to isolate the head so that we just focus on the head because the body is not ready or it's not complete. I can definitely see that the head is a little bit too long. And this one's a little bit rounder. Mine's looking a little bit more like an oboe shape. And I think it's because of the nose. I think the nose needs to go down a little bit more. That's better. And now we're going to be cleaning this up right here. That's why I also told David that we were going to have a longer stream today, because I knew that if you guys pick this one right here, we'll need a little bit more time to polish things. Yep, the question is coming. Let's see. How to stay or keep studying, always get distracted by YouTube games, especially when watching a 3D tutorial by Gia. That's a question by Gia. I mean, you gotta be disciplined, man. This is, and I was talking about this with someone during the week, because he was telling me, hey, I don't know if I should go to university to get like a degree and stuff, or just like learn from tutorials. And I asked him, do you have the self-discipline to just learn from tutorials and videos, like be a self-taught artist, or do you need someone to tell you what to do? They were like, no, really, I struggle with that. I get distracted very easily. I was like, well, then maybe university or college might be a good idea for you, because you're gonna get pressured, right, by the system in this case, by the school system. You're gonna get pressured to really deliver and to do the things that you need to do. And he agreed. So if you don't have the discipline, the self-discipline to do it, then don't do it. Don't try to force you, because we all learn in different ways. Some people are very good at being self-taught. I personally love like going into the documentation of softwares and learning about the like ins and outs of the elements. But there are some people that I know don't like to do that. So okay, here's a trick on sculpting mouths. I start with a sort of like mouth shape. Now she's got this very sort of like princess mouth, so I'm gonna curve it a little bit, like this. And then, oh, that's a little bit low. Let's push it a little bit higher. So you start with the little sort of like shape of the lips, and then you aggressively remove all of this area right here on the bottom side of where you marked that. Like literally aggressively remove that. And that's going to be your upper lip. So here you start sculpting the upper lip. There's usually going to be a little bit of bumpy, kind of like a heart shape right here on the tip of the lips. And then there's going to be another one right here going to the side. It fades out towards the corner of the mouth. And as you can see, that gives us a nice upper lip right there. Of course, we're going to be missing the little like section right here. And you can start sharpening this up or pushing this up. This is where the side view is going to be very important. There's some more removal of volume that we need to do on this area right here. And the mouth, very importantly, when you see the mouth from beneath, you should have curvature to the mouth. So I'm going to push this corners back and push this point forward. So it should look like a U shape, like the teeth, right? Otherwise, you're losing a lot of depth. And then you polish. So for instance, here a little bit of trim dynamic, and we just polish. And then the lower lip, just add it back here on the bottom part. And the bottom lip will come out from beneath the upper lip. So it's going to be from that corner right there. And it's going to open up a little bit. So here, again, we just push it. The one thing you can do here is you can mask out the upper lip. This is not final, remember. This is just an approximation, right? And you push this like that. Now, usually, in this kind of concepts, the mouth is always slightly open. So you can, like, carve in there a little bit more. Kind of like if they're, like, breathing with their mouth a little bit. There we go. And it's very important that the upper lip is always in front of the lower lip. There's always this sort of like distance. Let's push. I'm gonna use move brush here. I'm gonna push this distance right here. That's fine, Racer. Yes, this stream will be available later on YouTube. So tomorrow for the rerun. Pablo FX, what's up, man? Welcome, welcome. White Minus says, trying to learn 3D but can't do alone. Trying to go to Unity to get help. Lecture has to self-study. Bro. Well, here's the thing, White Minus. You don't how to say this? People expect to learn everything at school, and that's I guess a fail of the system, because they think that just by going to class and doing the homework, that's all of the things that you're gonna need to become great at whatever it is you're doing. And the reality is that there's so much more that you need to do on your own, such as networking, learning about new skills, learning about more modern things. So all of that stuff can only be done on your own and on your own time. That's why you need to have this sort of like thirst of looking for new information and trying to improve yourself. That's why we have the motto that we have, always learning, always improving. I've mentioned this before. Most of the things that I know about 3D, I learned after I left school. School teaches you about methodology. It teaches you about workflows. It teaches you about pipelines. It teaches you how to learn. I guess that's the secret. You learn how to learn, so that when you are out in the world, you can do and learn a bunch of other different things. I'm gonna give you a very stupid example, but hopefully this this makes sense with the kind of stuff that I'm trying to convey here. The other day, I was building a little grill here on my patio. I've never built a grill before. So what did I do? I followed the exact same methodology that I would follow to learn something about 3D. And I learned how to make mortar. I learned what kind of bricks I needed. I learned how to properly level things. And I managed to get something decent. So I saved myself a couple of bucks there, because I was able to build my little grill without having to hire anyone. But that's because I had the curiosity and the willingness to go out there and learn about this kind of stuff. So that's why it's very, very important that you always try to look for how can I learn more stuff. But it has to be something that you're passionate about, because if you're not passionate about it, if you're not curious about it, then it's going to be very, very difficult to do it, right? I'm looking for a reference right here. So there's this other guy that I love his work. His name is... He's in YouTube as well. Let me tell you what his name is.
I love Envato Element.
Jan Sculpts, and he does sculpting in Blender. And he did the arcane characters. So I'm looking for this one right here. It's not gonna be exactly the same, but he did Vi, right? And I want to see how he handled, especially the eye, because the eyes are always a little bit tricky. So there you go. You can see where we're not that far off. It's just a matter of like sharpening this a little bit more. I'm gonna change the music, guys. I'm gonna go back to chill hop. Let's go. There we go. Where is this? There we go. Is Marvel's Designer used for games like in-game plot? Yes, you can simulate. Nowadays, they actually just released, like last week, I think, a plugin where you can export the simulation from Marvel's Designer and get it directly into your game, like into Unreal. So it's definitely used. And if not, I mean, if you're not gonna simulate and you're just gonna build the cloth and then retopologize and stuff like that, it's used all the time for that. Now for the eyes, we also have or need to have that sort of like curvature to the eyes. That one's also gonna be quite important. And I love using trim dynamic to clean things up. See that? We got a sharper, cleaner form. Go back to Sil. Now she's got a smaller nose. I think I made her nose here too big. So I'm gonna grab the whole sort of like bottom part of the face. She's got this sort of like princess nose. She always reminds me of like Navi from Legend of Zelda. There's a very famous artist, Ryan Kingsley. He likes using the rake brush as well. There you go, Nihili. Thanks for the follow, man. Thank you very much, Nihili. And a little bit of the corner of the mouse right there. And at this stage, I'm not worried again about pores or things like that. I'm just worried about the main forms and shapes. We definitely need to push the lips forward a little bit more to really create that sort of like nice curvature right there. How would I approach the entire dress? If I was to do this one right here, I would honestly just go into marbles. Just use patterns to create the dress. I always struggle with female nostrils because they seem too big sometimes. Is it alright to also add the works we created with the help tutorials in our portfolio? Tutorials are interesting. If you just follow the tutorial and it looks exactly like the one from the tutorial, then I would recommend not adding it, because you're not really like adding anything new, right, to the world. Like people have already seen that portfolio or that tutorial probably. But if you follow the tutorial and you did your own interpretation of the tutorial, or you add your own variations to the tutorial, then yes, I think it could potentially be helpful. Let's clean some shapes. We got a very messy form, so we definitely need to start cleaning things a little bit here. Usually beneath the mouth, there's going to be a little bit of a hollow space. Another thing that's definitely gonna help later on is the hair. But here right now, I think that we're missing a little bit of definition on the face. So I'm gonna improve this jawline right here. There we go. That looks better. Now I'm gonna use my mask lasso here to open the mouth a little bit. And then what we can do is just append a sphere or like a cylinder or something to be like the teeth. There we go. Hey, Nihili, thank you. We're just starting. We're just starting. Will you be doing any fancy character like only for the tutorial anytime soon? What do you mean? I mean, the anatomy course is going to be a superhero. But for what? I'm not sure I understand the question. No, this is not done, man. No, we're far from done. Far from done. Do you have any networking advice for some of us who do have experience in the industry but still struggle to find new opportunities? Yes. I've mentioned this before. The industry right now, not just our industry, every single industry, because I have friends who are doctors, I have friends who are lawyers, I have friends who are accountants. Every single industry right now is in a freaking crisis. And that's because we're realizing that our system, our economic system, right, capitalism, is very good because it gives us the opportunity to have a lot of things and do a lot of stuff. But it can also be very damaging when it's not handled properly, right? So one of the things that I've been recommending quite a bit is try to find how you can use the skills that you have to do things, to do 3D things that are not necessarily entertainment related. So not necessarily for games, not necessarily for film, not necessarily for commercials. If you do that, you're going to see that there's a lot of work out there. It's just that it's not normal work. I'm going to give you a perfect example. Right now we're working on a VR thing that's for firefighters, for extinguishers, right? So we're still using Unreal. I'm still doing modeling and texturing and everything. It's just like the final product is not going to be something that you're going to see on a movie theater, or it's not going to be something that people are going to be playing on their homes. It's going to be a product that's going to be used in a different sort of like department or area, right? Which in this case, again, it's firefighters. So when you meet someone new, and I mentioned this, just ask them about what they do. Like if you meet someone new at a cafe or at a party, maybe you go with your girlfriend or your wife to a get-together and you meet new people, ask them, what do you do? Oh, I'm a dentist. Oh, cool. Do you do any 3D printing with your teeth? Like for molds or something? They could be like, no, I don't have any of that. It's like, oh, did you know you can do that? I do 3D. Do you want to try doing to try and do some like collaboration or something? Those are the kind of questions that you can ask people, and that's how you can get ideas to create new projects and stuff. Does that make sense? Or did I ramble too much there? It's just I've always been a glass half full kind of guy. So whenever I'm not questioned, but whenever I'm in a situation where I don't know what to do, I just like to ask people and find opportunities. Try to hold them at gunpoint. No. Don't do that. There we go. So the lips are looking better. Not great, but better. I do feel like they're a little bit too Kim Kardashian. Another thing I recommend is just isolate the area that you're working with. That way you can make sure that things look good on that particular area. So right here we have something called a nasolabial fold. On female faces and on younger faces, you're not going to see too much of a fold, but the underlying forms are still going to be there. So we should try to capture a little bit of that. The concept is from Syl. She's a spren from the Stormlight archives, and she's a companion to one of the main characters whose name is Kaladin. I just finished reading this book right here, which is the second book. It's called Wars of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. So see that? I'm adding a little bit of form here. And I always, I get this question asked quite a bit, like how do you like create the form? I like to use this sort of like cross-hatching technique where I try to follow the shape of the muscle with the strokes of my, what's the word? I try to follow the form of the muscle with the direction of the brush, so that when I use Stream Dynamic here, I can erase all of the brush strokes while still retaining that sort of like volumetric construction of the elements that I'm working on. Nilash, what's up, man? Marvelous design. See, like I'm gonna give you another example. Again, talking about 3D printing, and this is one thing that it took me a long time to understand. But there's always someone who's willing to pay a lot of money for something that you think is complete garbage. And this is gonna be very, very fun. I'm not saying it's complete garbage, but let me try to elaborate, right? So if like the helmet right here, right? Like I would never like go to a hobby store or something and see a helmet like this and pay, what is it, like $500 to buy one. Never. Because to me, even though I'm a huge Star Wars fan, I value my money more than having a collectible. But do I be like, oh, but you have one right here? Yes, because I 3D printed this one. And cost-wise, it was like, I don't know, $50 because of the filament and energy and stuff like that. So to me, I would definitely pay $50 or $100 to have one of this for my own. But if you offer me to buy the original collectible item that was used in the movies for $5,000, I would never buy it. But there's someone out there that will. So if you can provide that for them, then you just solve a problem for them, and that means that you're gonna make money there. Another example is like again, like miniatures, like D&D miniatures. I would never pay someone to paint a miniature for me, but if someone says, hey, can you paint a miniature for me and sell it to me, and they're willing to pay $200 for it, because I know there's people like artists that charge that for painting a mini. I mean, go for it. Like, that's your business opportunity. I would never pay for that, but if someone is gonna pay and I can offer them that service, I mean, you're stupid not offering it, right? So you would be surprised how many things people are willing to buy. And we're the same, right? Like, we might not buy a collectibles helmet, but you might buy the collector's edition of your favorite game. So it all depends on what we're offered. But the solution there is try to find what people are gonna buy or are looking for, and that could give you an idea of how to get more profit on your products or the things that you sell. Okay, right beneath the lips, right in this area, we have two little like bundles of muscle. It's called the orbicularis oris, and they blend very, very softly with the lips right here. So this is gonna fill in a little bit of the face on this area. Eye of Scar, thanks for the follow, man. Is Marvelous Designer a must-have learn software if you want to make good cloth for your games? Yeah, I would say if you're gonna be doing realistic cloths, learn Marvelous. It's very easy to learn. We got a course there as well. We'll link it in just a second, but it's a simple software. The only unfortunate thing is that it is members. It's what's it? Monthly payment. So what I do is I cancel my subscription when I'm not using it, and then I renew it when I'm gonna be using it. There we go. See that? So now this whole like mouth area looks way more flush, way more interesting. If you have to do a 3D Code game character course, which will include texturing in 3D Code as well, it feels highly underrated. Yes, I've been thinking about that. I really want to start paying for my rent to own license because I want to do a hand painted course. But that's what I've been mentioning, guys. I'm only one guy. You guys know that, right? Like right now, this whole project, this Abe Leal 3D brand, it's just me and David. That's it. We do everything. We do the marketing, we do the ads, we do editing, we do recording, we do publishing, everything. So it's challenging. I wish I could have enough time to just like record a ton of tutorials for you guys, but it's difficult. Sack Hyde, how long did it take you to remember the name of each muscle? The same amount of time that it takes you to remember the 150 names of the first generation of Pokemon. So if you could learn all of the Pokemons, you can learn the muscles, man. It's just like 50. You don't need too many. You learned your Pokemons or your Digimons or all of your builds for League of Legends, all of the items inside of World of Warcraft. Like, if you learn that stuff, you can learn your muscles. There's no excuse. I get that excuse a lot. It's like, oh, there's so many muscles and bones, I'm never gonna remember them. If you can name all your Pokemons, you can you can remember the muscles. It's just about making them interesting, guys. Like, you need to make it interesting to really learn it, right? So it's not the same thing to be forced to learn something than it is to learn something because you really want to learn it. So when you really want to learn it, when you're curious about it, when you're excited about the topic, it's a lot easier to remember anything. The tools, the process, the workflows, anything. So again, if you want to learn anatomy and you want to learn the muscles, it's just a matter of like finding them fun. There you go. I really like this mouth. Now you guys are ready to get scared? Because when you turn everything back on, it looks horrible. And this is very, very normal. That's why I always recommend to... And this is something that you definitely need to train a little bit for. You need to understand that the full thing is never... Like, you cannot work on everything at the same time. So it's going to require a little bit of turning off your brain for certain areas and be like, okay, I really like how the mouth looks. Like, this area right here looks like this area right here looks quite nice. But now I need to work on the nose, and then I'm gonna need to work on the eyes, and then I'm gonna need to work on something else. And as you keep polishing every single part and fixing it, pretty much, the whole thing is just gonna start looking better and better. But again, you gotta trust the process. You really, really, really gotta trust the process here. Here's where we're gonna have, when you see the side view, this is where you're gonna have your cheekbone, your zygomatic, and it goes all the way down or back to where the ear is. Now that might be a little bit too much, but I always like to do too much, and then if it's too much, just tone it down. Just bring it back, because it's easier to overshoot and then return a little bit than it is to really push or never get exactly where you need it to be. Oh, we got a raid right here by Albert G. I actually don't have any alerts for raids. What's up, Albert? Welcome. Lance Jasper says, recently found you and love your channel. Would you be teaching haircuts process? Haircuts, people have been asking too much about haircuts. I will definitely do. I think we're going to do a series on YouTube for haircuts because I don't want to do a course, to be honest. It feels, I don't know. It feels weird. A raid is when a group of people that were watching another channel here on Twitch jump and start watching your channel. So right now we got a raid by 8 viewers from Albert G. Thanks, Albert. And welcome. Welcome to the stream. We got Captain Merv. Thanks for the follow, man. No, you should only have like realistic and stylized if you want to work in realistic and stylized. If you only want to do realistic or if you only want to do stylized, you don't need to do that. If you want to bring all of the sculpted detail, you're going to have to bake that information into a displacement map or into a normal map. Either one of them will work. And you're going to have to do that bake either inside of ZBrush or inside of Substance Painter. Hello, hello! Welcome, Captain. Timothy, what's up? Welcome to the stream, my friend. Okay, I feel like the forehead might be a little bit too much. Let's see if I have like a... I'm gonna push this a little bit more. There we go. For games, normal map all the time. For commercials or film work, you could try and use displacement. And displacement is only important if you're gonna really like push the silhouette of your object like quite heavily. So here, let me show you. So let's imagine you have like a demon character and you have a horn, right? Like this. If the horn at render time is gonna have a lot of ridges and a lot of things and a lot of like spikes and things like this, then displacement map is really good because you can animate and work with this simple shape right here, and at render time it's gonna be very extreme. But if your horn is just the exact same thing with just like a couple of cracks and things like that, you don't need displacement. The normal map is more than enough because the silhouette is not changing. So when the silhouette changes quite a bit, that's when you want to use displacement. Because it's expensive. Displacement will create all of the polygons that you have on your form or on your object at render time. And if you create all of those polygons, you're going to have a lot of geometry and render time will increase. So displacement should only be used if you really need it. Again, when the silhouette is going to really change. So if you're doing like a dragon with a bunch of scales, then yes, displacement is good. But if you're just doing like a wooden chair with a couple of fibers of the wood, you don't need displacement. Unless you're going to be doing like a super close-up shot where you're going to see every single fiber. But even then, I would say there's other ways to do it. Okay, one thing that I think we're definitely missing is the hair. Now, hair is tricky. So I'm just going to do a very quick block out. Because hair is... Actually, before that... There we go. I feel like her head was a little bit too weird there. There we go. Yeah, I always call it block out. I know some people call it blocking. I always say block out. So we have the parting line of the hair right there. And it's just a... like a thumbnail, right? Let's Dynamesh. And we're gonna have this one right here. Let's see. People generally think displacement means mesh moving outwards, but it can also mean mesh moving. Yeah. Exactly, Eye of Scar. So displacement should only be used. Give me 1 second. The music's too loud for me. I know it might not be for you, but there you go. So displacement should only be used if the silhouette changes heavily or extremely, and that usually happens outwards, but it could also happen inwards, as you were mentioning. So yeah, it depends. But you should always ask yourself, do I need displacement or can I solve this with just bump and normal? You can even combine a bump map and a normal map, so you can have both of them. And that also helps. There we go. You can see this is a very ugly hair, but it just changes things quite heavily, because now we're actually seeing the forms of the face in context with the face, right? And one of the things that I immediately noticed is that her jawline, it's a little bit too intense. Kind of looks like Brie Larson. I'm a fan of Captain Marvel. I like Captain Marvel, but Brie Larson does have like a very strong jawline, so her face is very square. And at least on this concept, it looks more like a heart shape. So this parts right here, we definitely need to make it a little bit thinner. Her eyes do look a little bit big as well. I mean, I know we're going for stylized, but I'm not sure if it's too stylized. Can you bake normal map from high poly to low poly in Mari? You should be able to. Again, I haven't used Mari in a while, so I'm not sure if there are tools, but if anyone has used Mari recently and can tell us, pretty sure you can. Most of the softwares can do that. Do high quality animations use particles or hair cards? High quality animations will use hair systems. So XGen, for instance, or Ornatrix, or Yeti. I know Blender, well, Blender recently released a hair system of their own, but I know a lot of people still use like the hair particles. But more often than not, you're going to be using a hair system, not hair cards. Let's clean this up a little bit there. There you go. Mari 7 comes with an inbuilt baker. So yeah, you can bake high poly to low poly in Mari. I used to love Marble movies like Captain Marvel, but now it's like they're running. Yeah, the latest ones have been meh. I like Marbles too, to be honest. It was a fun one. Like, if you don't take it too seriously, it's a fun one. But I heard that they are, like, they are aware of it now. So they realize that the direction that they were going of flooding the market with superhero movies was not the best idea. So hopefully in the next couple of years, we get something that's a little bit better in terms of quality, right? To be honest, I have a small girl. She just turned 3, so I haven't gone to the movies because she can handle it. We might go to see Inside Out 2. We tried going to see the Mario movie. She kind of handled it, but she's very little, so I haven't gone to the movies in a long time. It's all Netflix and Disney+. Bluey! Have you guys seen Bluey? Freaking amazing. It's a great cartoon. If you have little kids, you gotta watch Bluey. It's very, very good. Let's see. What would that be in Unreal? In Unreal 5, you can now bring in hair cards, or sorry, hair systems as well. So you can import your hair systems as Alembic files and get them into Unreal. Okay, that like line right there, I don't like it. I'm gonna try to soften it up. Same for this one. I think it's a little bit too intense. Well, I'm liking it. I think we're heading in the right direction. This whole construction has been good. She does look a little bit older. In the books, I think Kaladin is, if I'm wrong, anyone please correct me. I think Kaladin is like 19 or 21 years old. I think it's probably like 21. So he's relatively young. He's like not a kid, right? But he's quite young. And I imagine Syl to be of a similar age, so probably like 19 or 20. Well, Sprent's work in a different way, so she's probably very, very, very old. But you know what I mean. Like she portrays herself as a young woman. So Emil, it's not that you need to learn Maya to get into the industry, but you guys, and this is a very important question. Again, softwares are not everything, right? But if you want to work for Disney, Disney uses Maya. You need to learn Maya. If you want to work for Pixar, Pixar uses Maya. You gotta learn Maya. You want to work for Riot, for League of Legends, they use Maya for animation. So you gotta learn Maya. So it's about where you want to work. Like you're not gonna learn. It's like if you want to work in a big kitchen where they specialize in I don't know, omelets, and you are like a pastry chef, right? Like if you want to work for the omelet chef, you gotta learn how to do omelets. It's the same thing here. So it's not that you need to learn it. It's what do you want to do with your career? What would be your dream job? And depending on what your dream job is, then that's the kind of stuff that again you're gonna be going for. I'm really gonna carve in the mouth now. And I'm gonna add, I mean, we already had this sort of like sphere. There we go. You can use Alembic in here in real time, but it's not advised. Yeah, no, it's very heavy, but it can be done. I mean, again, it depends on how you use it. For instance, this new game that they released, Stellar Blade, right? It's called this Chinese game, I think. I don't know. It's with this like super sexy protagonist that people were like drooling about online. At least on Reddit, people were going crazy about that character. And her hair is dynamics. It's full dynamics. In The Witcher 3, and this was like almost 10 years ago, they had NVIDIA hair effects, which was another hair system that can be used. So there are ways to use hair in games. There we go. I really like the mouth now. Looks a lot closer to the concept, I think. Hello to Korea! I cannot read your name because I don't know that language, but hello there. People were simping on Briar's feed. Yeah, Reddit is crazy. I tried posting to Reddit when we first started this project last year. It was very toxic. So it's like, oh, nope. People there don't really care about education this way, so it's not a place that I like to post, to be honest. Hi, profe. Soy Lotus. What's up, man? Doing good. Doing good. How can I aim for a studio that uses expensive software? Example, Naughty Dog. I know it's big, but it's a dream that lives in me since forever, but don't have money for softwares. Most of the softwares have some sort of like educational license or trial version or things like that you should be able to use. And I know, and this is like, I'm against piracy now that I make my own tutorials even more, right? Because every time people pirate my tutorial, well, that's a little bit of a loss for us, for the project. But I understand. When I was a student, I did my own little time of sailing there, the Black Seas as well. Because, well, when you're a student, you don't have a lot of money, right? What I try to do is I try to give back for all the time that I used other types of softwares. And I know, again, it depends on how you see things, right? But my advice would be try to find those educational licenses if possible. Try to find those free trials. Try to learn there. I mean, there's a lot of free alternatives as well, right? So Blender is a perfect example. But yeah, there's ways. Yes, as Barnum says right there, every software is free. Yeah, again, you should try to support the things that you like, guys. Otherwise, it's a race to the bottom. I like it. I was really scared like 30 minutes ago because it was looking like shit. Like, let's save real quick. Let me show you. So, this is what we had literally like 1 hour ago. And it was looking like absolute dog shit. Let's take a look. I'm watching your videos to get a job at a game company. It's great to help you a lot. Thank you. Sorry, I'm using a translator. That's fine, man. Yeah, look at that. Like, that's what we had 40 minutes ago. Horrible. Like, people were watching this 40 minutes ago. I don't blame them if they just, like, move on. But yeah, now it's looking quite nice. Is there any big company who uses Blender for modeling and animation? Yes, there are some. Like Epic Games for Fortnite, they now use like a Blender as well. So that's why I'm saying that it is possible to find the companies. And Blender has, especially for modeling and sculpting, like you can totally use Blender and you're gonna get like very good results. But for more advanced things such as rigging, like especially advanced rigs and animation, can be a little bit tricky. I think. I mean, I don't want to brag, but I really like how this is looking now. Especially with the hair. She starts to look a lot nicer. Now, she is a windsprint. So she manifests herself in this very, again, like wispy, like interesting looking way. So I'm going to use my move brush here. Actually, probably the snake hook. I'm going to use the snake hook brush to really add a little bit of flowiness to her whole like head. I'm probably gonna be like pushing the wind to the left. Now, sculpting hair, because that's always a question that I get. How do you sculpt hair? Focus on the big forms first. So you need to break the hair. Instead of seeing the hair as each individual strand, you start looking at it as sort of like big blobs. So big blobs of hair first. And then you start focusing on the smaller blobs, or the smaller like bundles of hair, and then the bigger ones, and so on and so forth. Now, since this is going to be 3D printed, or probably going to be 3D printing it, it's important that we keep everything sculpted, right? So the whole hair is going to be sculpted. So just got this like parting line right there on the hair. You can see right here. And that's where we're gonna start seeing sort of like the curvature. So I'm gonna use Damien Standard here to push it in a little bit to get really close to the scalp right there. And then we sculpt. I'm gonna see how far we can get. We're gonna have 3 hours, so we still got 1.5 hours. So I'm gonna see how far we get, man. I got a lot of unfinished things that I need to do. But I need your guys' help with that, because for instance, if I do the next part of the tower, the dice tower that we were doing, since it's a second part videos usually don't get a lot of views on YouTube, and it's more, what's the word? It's better for the channel and for the project to do things that get views, right? So if I do a second part, I need you guys to watch the video. Watch at least like 5 or 10 minutes of the video. That really helps. But if you watch the whole video, of course, that's even better. Okay, so if I need to do the second part for this character, yeah, we might do another live stream. I've been thinking about having a second live stream on Tuesdays, but have it on like Tuesday night for me. It's gonna be early for most of you. That way we also interact with other parts of our audience, like in America. Because right now it's very early, so I know most people here in Mexico and in the US are working or studying. So we might be doing more live streams, but I need your help. So when you see the videos, if you like the topic, comment, share, watch it. It really helps. Thank you, Timothy. Thank you. What type of content will your environment art cover? So we're going to go through the blocking process. We're going to take a look at the foliage. We're going to be doing trim sheets for some optimization, some hero assets, and finally lights, renders, and a little bit of particles. So that's pretty much it. I'm still thinking about what it will be. I'm debating between having like an abandoned warehouse or like a dungeon, like a fantasy dungeon. But dungeons have been done like already. I don't want to do the traditional like a fantasy village. Everyone does fantasy villages. I've even been thinking about doing like a sci-fi like station. You know what? Like a sci-fi station might be a good idea now that I think of it, because it could like look nice with the character that I'm doing right now. You mean the shoulder armor for dwarf? Yes, I can do that. I can show you how I did that. No, capes are, I mean, I don't know, like what would you have inside of a cave? Yeah, I want to do it indoors, and I had this idea of like a space station. Here, let me show you. Space station. Here. Concept art. So I was thinking something like because it needs to be relatively simple so that people can follow along, right? Like, and so that I can make it not fast, but that's an issue that I have with tutorials and in my premium courses. The new generations are very impatient. So if I make a 50 video course 50-hour video course, people don't watch the 50 hours. Like even with the 10-hour courses that I do, people don't watch everything. So it gets tricky. But we're gonna have some live classes as well soon. So stay tuned. If you wanna get the latest news, make sure to go to the Discord. Let me give you an example of what I was thinking. Yeah, something like this. So I was thinking about some like futuristic sort of like a observation deck or something with or something like this with some plants and some again glass and shaders and particles and things like that. So something like this, I think. AAA isn't worth it. I left AAA 5 years ago and haven't regretted it. Pirate Software, this other streamer, he's a game dev, and he did the same thing. He left Blizzard a couple of years ago, and he enjoys his life so much more now that he's indie. What is the best way to render high polys, ZBrush or Marmoset? Marmoset. Well, if you have access to Redshift GPU, which means that you're paying for the freaking Maxon 1 full license, which is like $90 per month or something, then yeah, you can do it inside the ZBrush. But if you're doing, if you don't have that, then Marmoset. You can get amazing renders from Marmoset. Okay, now we need to start working a little bit on the body. What do you guys think? Does the neck look too long? I feel like the neck looks a little bit long. Yeah, I think it was a little bit too long there. Yeah, too long. Probably around there. Yeah, it looks better. Xiaomi, no, not yet, man. I don't have it yet. It's been tricky, guys. As you guys know, this is not my only like job. I do other things. I teach at universities, and I have a small studio where we do VR projects. So we started this project 8 months ago, 10 months ago, right, David? This was at the end of June last year. We're about to complete 1 year, and it's been quite nice. So in this 10 months that I've been doing this, I've been able to release this 6 courses right here. So we got Maya, Blender, ZBrush, Marvelous, Substance Painter, and recently Topogon. So all of this are available at my site. It's aveliel3d.com. And it's a lot of work. I know it might not seem like it, but I've been doing courses for several years now, and believe me, guys, it does take some time to do all the work for a course. So even though I would love, it's not the same. For instance, if I told you, hey, tomorrow we're gonna have freaking Unreal class, so everyone just log in and we're gonna have our class, and that's it. We're just gonna go through the motions there. Then record, edit, subtitles, like it's another different process. Because if you're recording and then the freaking software crashes, you guys know what's been the worst thing that has happened to me? I remember I was recording, I think it was the substance course, and I was doing the video about the tattoos and everything, and I was super into it. I was super inspired, and I was just like showing all the different parts and things like that. And then when I was done, it's like, okay, guys, well, I'll see you back on the next video. I went to the OBS to stop the recording, and I had not started the recording. I was like, fuck this. So it was like 20 or 25 minutes of me like teaching to no one, to absolutely no one, because the whole recording was just like, it was not recording, so it was lost. I've had times where I'm recording and then lights go out here in Mexico. Unfortunately, we have a big deal with energy, so sometimes, especially in the hot months where everyone's using air conditioning, energy can fluctuate a little bit, and we get like blackouts for a couple of minutes. So I've been like recording and then boom, blackout, and I lose all of the progress. So yeah, that's not even lost media, man. That's just like unknown media, because it was not even recorded. So yeah, those are some of the unfortunate sort of like side effects of recording courses. Okay, let's do. I'm gonna use my knife curve here. I'm just gonna cut out the arms. We don't need them anymore. Yeah, it's my worst nightmare, man. Freaking blackouts. Do you have any are you able to get discount for Topogun for us? Yes. So if you buy the Topogun course, guys, this is something that I've mentioned before, but if you buy the Topogun course, the guys at Topogun are considering us to be an educational sort of like institution. So even though we're not a proper school yet, maybe in the future, who knows? Who knows what the future brings? But right now, since we're not a proper school, they're still considering us an educational institution. So if you buy the course and you send them an email with your invoice and asking or requesting to get your own license, you get a 20% discount on the Topogun price. And Topogun is not pay to own; it's just like a permanent license. So once you buy it, it's yours forever. See, I've thought about that, Daddy Streams. That's something that I've thought about for a long time. But unfortunately, especially here in Mexico, for instance, there's a lot of bureaucracy involved, and you need to teach a lot of like boring, useless classes if you wanna be like a real school. So I don't think I want that, but I definitely want to have more classes, and I want to bring more people in. So teachers who are experts on their own areas. Like animation and effects, things that I don't normally do, so that you can have all of the information without having to have the boring stuff. I don't know, something feels off about her. I think her arms are a little bit too big. Maybe her torso. You'll be Vice President Junior. Yeah, for now, the next couple of steps, guys, or I've mentioned this before. We're gonna continue with premium courses. We're gonna continue with more topics and more like cool stuff on our site. But the next immediate sort of like project is to see how we can do live workshops. So a live class where you enroll and there's like live feedback. You have a group of other people. It's going to be through Discord. There's going to be a special group for people there to share their progress, share their homeworks and stuff like that, help each other, and just have a more on hands approach, right? So that if you struggle with self teaching or self learning, that could be a good option, right? To have a group. I'm going to be there, of course, and just like go from there. Yeah, like group mentorship, exactly, Adoran. Group mentorships. That's the proper word. So we're bouncing ideas around, David and I, about how to best handle that. Because one of the things, and you guys know me, whenever I offer you guys something, or I create a new course or whatever, I always try to make it valuable. Like, I'm never gonna sell you shit. So it even happened with the Topogun course, where I had recorded most of it already, and I realized it was not working, and I just scratched it. I just like said, hey, no, this is not gonna work. I'm just gonna do it again. And I started from scratch, like started recording everything from zero back again, and it worked amazingly, because now we have the course that we have. So I'm never gonna sell you guys something that's not worth it. That's how a lot of people are doing Teach Art 8-week course, but they call it mentorship, so they skip around all the red tape. Yeah. It's definitely like a mentorship program. Artful Nerd, what's up, man? Okay, that definitely looks better. More proportionate. I think the latissimus dorsi is a little bit too big. But yeah. Also important to remember, what? Everyone works different. Remember to give you time left to... Yeah, that's right. Yeah, see, Eye of Scar has a very interesting approach here, or a very interesting comment about art and about everything in general. The more you do something, the more you're gonna be able to understand it, and you might learn something. Like, I can teach you the muscles right now, but unless you do it several times and you see them several times, you're not gonna get it. But there comes a point in your artistic career when you get it, when it clicks, when you're like, awesome, yeah, now I understand. And it has happened to me as I've grown older, that every now and then I'm gonna get like one of those aha moments where I finally realize what my teachers, again, this was 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago, were telling me. Is like, oh, this is important because of this and because of that. And 10 years later, I'm like, now I understand what he meant. But you need to learn it at some point. It needs to be in your mind somewhere so that when it finally clicks, it clicks. So be mindful about that, guys, because even if you learn it, if you like, you could be having a class from freaking George Lucas right now about like storytelling, and you're gonna kind of like lie to yourself thinking that now you know the secret. You don't. It's there on your mind, but you don't really understand it. So it needs to kind of like grow and go through your mind, and you, I don't know, it's like a weird process. I always relate it to like wine. Wine needs to go through this aging process, right? Until it finally clicks, until it finally it's ready to be used, and that takes time. And I know nowadays, again, with how society works, we want everything to be super fast and super quick. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. That's a very, very bad consequence of our current lifestyle. And I'm gonna give you another example. Have you seen La Sagrada Familia? So this is a church in Spain. It's in Spain. I'm pretty sure it's in Spain. And it's a church that's not finished. It's not finished yet. The original design, it's not done. It has been a work of art for I don't know how long. But back in like medieval times, when people were saying, hey, we're gonna build a new church or a new chapel or a new castle or whatever, they knew it was probably not going to be done in their lifetime, and they still went for it. They still worked and added their own little like contribution to the project to get it to be ready. So why do you expect as an artist to be an amazing artist in 2 months when it took them hundreds of years to build the amazing things that inspire us, right? Like the Sixtine Chapel, it wasn't done in 4 months, and it wasn't done just by one person. It was done by a lot of different artists and a lot of different contributions throughout the years, or throughout how long it took them to do it, right? So you need to understand that art as a process, and not just art, everything in life pretty much, it takes time. So be patient with yourself. Be patient with your process. Understand that everything that you do, as long as it's getting you closer to the goal, it's worth it. It's worth it because it's gonna allow you to eventually get there, but it takes time. Okay, now I think we can start again cleaning more forms here on Syl's face. Now, as you can see here on her eye, she's got this very pointy sort of like change on the eyelid. And those are the little details. Of course, she's got the eyelids that we're gonna have to sculpt, similar to what they did with the Vi character. But she's got like a sort of like innocent. Oh no, I hate when this happens. Ah. Ice of Scar says, guys, when it all clicks, you'll be surprised at how quickly the rest of the pieces start falling into place and how you would be suddenly having X-rayed mode and the by thinking, yeah, you just like start. Yeah, I completely agree there. It's one of those things that when it happens, when it clicks, it just clicks. And the thing is, it clicks at a different point for everyone. Some people will click early on, some people will click a little bit later in their career. Some people will click for certain things, and some people will click for other things. So it's one of those elements. I remember, for instance, when I was learning animation, I never understood the 12 principles of animation. Like, just like I read them, I knew them, but I could never understand how and why we were applying them to the animations that we were doing. And then suddenly, when I had a project that I had to deliver and I had to do animation, it clicked. I was like, it makes sense. And sometimes it will make sense after you see a teacher do it. Like, it could be me teaching you something and it clicks for you because of the way I explained it. But it's different for everyone. And that's, again, where you got to be very, very patient with yourself. The reference does not have. Yeah, no. I'm gonna tweak things more, Bishal. Yeah, I think we definitely need to soften up the. But it's such subtle changes at this point. Also, remember, guys, that when we transfer a 3D or a 2D drawing to a 3D preview, there's always going to be slight variations, slight changes. That's unavoidable because we're adding another dimension. So it might not look as prominent on the 2D because of the smoothness of the colors and things like that. But I cannot just like soften it up like perfectly here on 3D because then it will look without form. So we do need to make some what's the word? What's the word? It's not commitments. Oh man. Now my English is failing. Compromise. There you go. Compromises. Etheron, thank you. Yeah, compromises. So we are gonna have to do certain compromises sometimes. Compromises. My first animation class, I was like, nope, I'm modeling it. Yeah, animation is a different beast. See, I have a funny story about animation. I'm not an animator. I'm gonna preface that by saying I'm not an animator. But when I animate, it's not bad. And I've gotten that like feedback. I remember when I first, like my first job, I've shared this before. The first game that I worked for, it was called Wetopia. It was a game for Facebook, similar to Farmville. You guys played Farmville back in the day. So it was Wetopia, and it was this little like characters right there. And I had to do some animations for this game. There was a baseball like a field, and I did the animations of the little guy swinging. We would render everything. We were using Maya back then, and we would render everything into sprites. So the game was sprite based, even though everything was 3D modeled. So for optimization purposes, everything was sprites. And I remember doing the animations, and my lead at the time, he was like, "Hey, you're not bad at animating. You're actually like, it looks nice. Like it fulfills what we're looking for." So, but I hated it. I hate animation. I don't like animating. It's very, very boring for me. Like I don't enjoy the process. That's it. And if I don't enjoy the process, or if you don't enjoy your process, then it becomes quite heavy, right? Like it's not something that you look forward to. And for me, animation, what I don't like about the animation process is that it's looking the same thing over and over and over again. So you just see the same animation, the same movement until you find the little changes and the little adjustments that you need for perfection. I like the blocking stage of animation, but the refining and the polishing and the splining, oh man, I really do suffer when I have to do that. No, I love rigging, Etheron. For me, rigging is very, very fun because it's like a challenge, it's like a puzzle that I need to solve. So rigging, I don't mind. I don't do a lot of advanced rigging either, but I don't mind it. But again, it had to click for me. And funnily enough, all of these things that I'm mentioning about like clicking and things like that, most of them happen when I accepted to do a project or work on a project, and I didn't have the abilities or the skills. So I've had situations, like I remember when I was doing a little bit of architectural visualization, my client at that time came to me and they were like, "Hey, we need you to do some renders for us about the project, but we want you to integrate a couple of things in 3D. So we're gonna go there, take some pictures, you're gonna take those pictures and you're gonna do the renders, and then I want them to look like if the 3D stuff that you're doing is on the real photograph." And I've never done like image integration before. And I was like, and they asked me, "Can you do it?" I was like, "Yeah, sure, of course I can do it. It's very simple." It was not very simple. I mean, it's relatively straightforward, but it's not as simple as you might think. So I had to learn it while I was doing the job. Same thing for rigging. It's like, "Hey, we need this animation and we need this character. Can you do it?" It's like, "Yeah, I can do it." But at least I had the notions, right, of how things were made. So if you have the notions and you understand the basics, then learning the things that you need for the specific things can really work. Yeah, it's kind of like fake it to you. It's not really fake it because I've had like I remember I had another client that came to me and they're like, hey, we need some liquid and fire simulation for this special show that we're doing. And I was like, nope, I don't do that. I don't do effects, so I'm sorry, I cannot help you. And I of course gave him some recommendations of some of my friends that specialize in that. So I never, you should be very wary of taking or working on things, or as the quote says, right, biting more than you can chew. But if you are confident that even if it's going to be challenging, you can get it or you can get it done, then go for it. Because yes, you're going to fake it till you make it. You're going to learn and you're going to do it. But if it's really outside of your scope of abilities, my advice is don't even, like, don't try it, because you could, like, very well shoot yourself in the foot, and that's that could burn a little bit of your reputation as well. I tried to rig my character and got a local burnout. Dead streams. My bad, I was using the main record option. The chat was hidden. Of course, one very important thing is going to be the eyes. Do I have my materials here? Got some eye materials, but I don't know where they are. I bought them not too long ago, but now I don't. I'm not sure where they are. There's this guy that sells some eye materials that you can get for your character, and they're quite good. Okay, so not bad, not bad. I like it. Now I'm gonna use this guy as a reference for the eyes, because you can see what they did here for the what's the word for the oh man, my English is definitely not on point today. Eyelashes, there you go. For the eyelashes is they created another sort of like mesh, and they created, instead of doing one eyelash, or yeah, instead of sculpting every single eyelash, they just created this big sort of like triangular looking shape. And the easiest way to do that is just to extract. So now go to mask pan right here. I'm gonna paint this area. There we go. Actually, I'm thinking it's gonna give me a very ugly extract. Let's try something different. First, let's clean up this part a little bit more. And I'm gonna extract it from here, from the inside. But again, we need to clean things up a little bit here. Yeah, just get a tablet, Marvin. There's absolutely no need to torture yourself by doing it with a mouse. Of course you can, but tablets are cheap. Nowadays they're even cheaper. Like back when I was first starting, the cheapest one you could get was a Wacom, like a bamboo Wacom. That was the name of them, bamboo Wacom, and that one was more than enough. Now you can get like a Wacom, like a Intuos. You can get a pen display. I'm using this Hoyon pen display. There we go. So now that I have that clean mesh, we're gonna mask it out. Very carefully. and we're gonna extract it. Okay. I can definitely still clean that up a little bit more. Geometry, or sorry, subtool, extract, and we're gonna extract this at 0 thickness. This is what we get. Cool. Let's delete one of them. And we're gonna work with this one. First, I'm gonna go to polygroups. Sorry, to deformation, and we're gonna use this polish feature or polish crisp edges. Polish by features. That one looks a little bit better. There we go. And then we're gonna go geometry, Z remesher, and we're gonna see remesh. And as you can see, this is what we've got. And what I want to do is I want to get this super, super, super low. What? Why? Do you have like non-manifold geometry? Oh, there's horrible things right there. Let's just delete hidden. Let's try serum measure again. There we go. We're gonna keep going until we pretty much have like 4 like planes. That's pretty much it. Like this is where it stops. As you can see, this is a very, very, or not very, but like way, way cleaner mesh. Then what we're gonna do is oh my god, we're gonna extrude this. There you go. So I'm gonna go C modeler, and we're gonna QMesh polygroup all. And that's gonna create, as you can see, a border there, right? And now, since we have very few polygons, it should be fairly easy to manipulate this sort of like eyelash. And get the shape that work. Actually, before the extrusion, we might wanna, there we go. So we might wanna push this thing first. This point right around there. Just get the general shape of the eyelash. Yeah, you can just draw them with topology as well. Remember, in 3D, guys, there's so many different ways to get to the same result, and all of them are like, if it works, it works. Simple as that. If it works, it works. So if it works for you, perfect. Here, what I'm gonna do instead of using Modeler, I'm gonna use dynamic subdiv. So I can add thickness. There we go. And by using dynamic subdiv, since this is not permanent, right? We still got the plane. So I can modify this. And it's like modifying the plane and getting the preview of how the plane is gonna look. There we go. I don't want to make it as intense as that one. But we do want to push it a little bit right there. I am going to turn it a little bit darker. So I'm going to say color fill object. Hey. Color fill object. There we go. We're gonna mirror. Go to our traditional color. You're gonna see it a little bit darker than the other one. And there we go. That's a very clean sort of eyebrow right there. Now going back to this one, I think we definitely can get. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if we need more resolution. We probably do, because we're already getting into like very intense subdivisions here. Would you have tips on soft skills or work skills that we rarely find in the internet, which are very important when working in a studio and for a large job within the industry? Yes, I do have. Let's talk about soft skills. Actually, let me keep working, because otherwise I'm never going to finish. So, soft skills are the skills that you cannot learn. Everything you can learn everything. I'm a huge proponent of the fact that you can learn everything. So if you're bad at public speaking, if you're bad at leadership, if you're bad at certain things, you can learn anything. You might not be the best at everything, and that's important to know as well, but you can be proficient at most things. So for instance, if you're bad at public speaking, you can learn how to do that. You might not be the best public speaker on the world, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be a bad public speaker, right? So the things that I think are very important are frustration tolerance. So you need to be able to receive feedback, which is very, very important. A lot of people struggle with that. So you need to be able to receive feedback and handle it. Be like, okay, right, it's not right. Like I made a mistake, or I need to change this, because especially in this industry, there's a lot of back and forth, and it can be very frustrating when, for instance, you do something and they tell you to do something else, and then you fix it, and then they tell you to do the exact same thing that you already had done, and you're like, dude, like, what the hell? You're making me lose time, right? Well, that's how it is. Unfortunately, sometimes people need to see how the decision that they were following is bad, and then they go back to the first decision that you had. So that's an important one. You need to be able to support that. Eye of Scar, thank you, my friend, for being here. Thank you. And see you back on the next one. And but it's that one's the first one. So you need to understand that, especially when you're working for a client, well, the client has the final say, and even if you don't agree, you need to swallow your ego and be like, hey, if that's what they want, even if you think it's wrong, you might be able to persuade them into taking your opinion into consideration. But at the end of the day, they want to go for the thing that looks bad or works wrong or whatever. Well, that's their choice, right? And that's what happens in the industry now. Like, you probably have seen this when a new game comes out. Sorry. Shit. Oh my god. When a new game comes out and people are like, oh, why are you using microtransactions and super expensive DLC and things like that? You know that the artists were not the ones that made that decision. Like, if it was for the artists, they would probably have given you all of the things that you were asking for and that they know were good. There's other people making decisions, and in a business, unfortunately, sometimes those decisions, sometimes you might not agree with those decisions, but you're one of the soft skills that you need to learn is hey, it's not you. Don't take it personal. Just follow instructions in those cases, right? Another soft skill that's very important is communication. If you are having issues with something, with a direction, with an instruction, with a design choice or whatever, just ask for guidance. Just say, hey, I don't understand. Can you explain this to me? Can you can we go over this again or something? Because one thing that's very frustrating, especially in my case, I've done a little bit of art direction. Well, not a little bit, quite a bit of art direction. Is I give some instructions and then the artists say that they understand, but then when they show me the thing that they're doing, it shows that they did not understand from the very beginning. So if you don't understand something, just ask questions. My dad always used to say, just raise your hand and ask questions. It's better to be the obnoxious person that asks too many questions to be sure that you have things right, than to be the obnoxious person that does everything wrong because he didn't understand the indication in the first place. So it's very, very important that you understand that difference. Let's clean up the nose, because I definitely feel like our nose looks horrible. I think we need a pointier bit right here. The nose also has this sort of M shape. See that hook that we got right there? That looks very, very bad. King Arthur says, "Más tonto es el que no pregunta." Exactly, yeah. You probably heard that phrase. There's no stupid question, right? And there are stupid questions. I've heard stupid questions before, but I'd rather have a stupid question than no question at all and be left like being stupid, right? So yeah, just ask questions. Just ask. I mentioned this little freelance thing or gig that I did a couple of weeks ago. I did like this fish, and I was working with someone that was like very specialized in fishes. So the questions that I needed to ask were very, very specific about like fish anatomy and things like that, because the model had to be like anatomically perfect, and that's fine. Like it was really good or really great to work with that client, because he also understood that that was part of the process, and he didn't get like exasperated or impatient because I was asking too many questions. He actually encouraged me. It's like, ask me as many questions as you need about the fish, because I want to make sure that this is a perfect model of that fish. Does a digital tablet like a Cintiq have any advantage of a regular Wacom? I have medium Wacom and have always wondered. Not really. And here's like right now I'm working with this one. It's my Huion display, and I'm not even looking at it. I maybe should look at it, right? But I'm looking at my screen over here because I've worked so long with a traditional tablet that my eye like hand coordination is just like already developed in that sense. So I don't need to be looking at the tablet. I already know how it's gonna look. But yeah, it's a cool thing. It's a cool tool. Like if you don't own a tablet and you're gonna buy your first one and you can afford a pen display, I think it's a good idea. It's a very fun like piece of software. But if you already have a tablet and you're questioning whether you need a pen display or not, then my question would be, do you do a lot of drawing and things like that? Because if you don't, then it might not be needed. Why do I not like this nose? I'm not sure what it is about this nose, but I don't like it. I like the side view, but I don't like the bottom view. It's like a pig. Look for reference. Whenever you're lost, reference. So female nose. Yeah, this one's pretty close to what I'm looking for, I think. It's there. I think the nostrils are way too up. Yeah, it seems too pinched as well. I agree. And again, the cool thing is we're still in Dynamesh. So I'm just gonna fill in the nostrils. Work on the main shapes first. Because the nostrils can be a little bit distracting. Maybe even the direction of the nostril was wrong. Yeah, I'm gonna soften it up. Petros, thank you. The nostrils are very prominent. I'm not sure. Maybe. Yeah, a little bit too much there. I think that line's also a little bit too much. It's a little bit more depth here. Using clay buildup to remove a little bit of the volume that we previously had. And then it's just a matter of blending. Now it looks too small. Sculpting online with anatomy while the chat is live is the bravest thing a person can do. I agree. It's tough. It can be a little bit tough. Especially this again, like female anatomy, oof, always tricky. Like, I've done female characters before, but it always takes me quite a bit of time to get her right. This is a challenge. Male characters, since shapes are a little bit rougher, I would say, you can get away with harsh like forms and things like that. It makes it look like damaged. I don't know. Oh, thank you, my friend. I'm glad you find it helpful. The Oni course, Sirish course. That looks better. Now, sometimes another thing that's important about sculpting is sometimes you do need to take a little bit of a break and stop like seeing your stuff for a little while. And then you come back and your mind's kind of like refreshed. And at that point you start noticing other things. And it does work. It's called, there's a name to it actually. It's called sensory, like overstimulation or something like that. Like if you've ever been in a place where there's a lot of noise, like you can hear like someone doing construction work. At first you hear it and it's all you hear, but after a couple of minutes, your ear kind of like filters it out, and you still hear it, but you don't think about it too much. And you can like listen to other elements. Same with smells. Like if you're in a place where that smells really bad or really good, after a while you don't smell it as intensely because your senses get like they receive the same sort of like stimuli and they start filtering it out. And I feel like the same thing happens here with visual, right? Like visually, I've been seeing this like face for almost 3 hours now, or two hours. And I might not see things that if I had a fresh vision, I might immediately point out. But that's not bad. I think we're in a good situation there. I think the nostrils are a little bit too big on the upper side. I'm trying to learn Marmoset for simple rendering for my ZBrush sculpts. What's the best way to import models into Marmoset? I polypaint my ZBrush model and don't use substance. Just export the FBX with polypaint information, and that's good. Like there is a way inside of Marmoset to just toggle in the polypaint information. Actually, do I go over it on the ZBrush course? I think I do. It's not perfect, but it's better. It's definitely better than what we have. It's definitely better than what we had. Let's clean a little bit of the shapes over here. I feel like we've focused too much on the face. We definitely need to work on the dress and stuff a little bit. So she's got this dress, kind of like a corset dress. I'm tempted to even just like sculpt it directly in here, but usually I like to keep it separate. Let's do the neck real quick. Smooth everything out there. All of the little lumps and things. Now we can actually smooth them out. I don't know. Do you guys feel like the mouth is way too open? There we go. I also feel like the lower eyelid got a little bit too intense. So I'm just gonna add a very soft cover here with the clay buildup to smoothen it out. I mean, I still want to see a little bit of the mark right there, but it has to be quite subtle. Otherwise, her face starts looking a little bit old, right? Have you used any other sculpting software before? And if so, what's your opinion on them? I've used, I've used Blender. It's fine. For certain things, it's quite nice. But for more advanced elements, I prefer ZBrush. I've used, back in the day, there was this app in the iPad called the Forger, I think it was called. Nowadays, it's another one. But it's again, ZBrush is still king. I used Modbox at one time as well. I have not tried 3D Code, and I've heard that it's good, that it has some cool tools as well. But I have not tried it. Jay Kansaria says, your videos are very helpful. Thanks, man, for making them, or making it. You're welcome, man. You are welcome. I'm glad they have been helpful. We just hit 16,000 subscribers in YouTube like 2 days ago or something. It's unbelievable. So thank you guys for being part of this journey with me, and I'm glad the content has been helpful along this time. The goal is to get to 20k subs. Can we do it? Well, if you're watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed, you can definitely help. Same in Twitch. In Twitch, the goal is to get to 13,000 followers. No, 13,000, no, 1,300. 13,000, imagine that. I mean, well, maybe one day, but I know what we do is very niche, so I don't have a swimming pool here to to do 3D in. This is the refining stage, guys. I know it looks like I'm not doing anything, but every single little change there in the form adds up. Now the mouth looks a little bit small. One thing, I don't do this all the time, but one thing is just like carving in the eyes. That's a good way to get an idea of how the character is looking. So yeah, that's not bad. As you can see, that definitely works. Especially when you turn on a little bit of perspective. That looks good. I normally don't sculpt with perspective, but once you turn it on, you can see that like shapes are working fine. I do think the eyes are a little bit too far forward, so I'm gonna push them in a little bit. And that of course means they're gonna have to adjust the eyelids there a little bit as well. It's unbelievable that a guy like you has so few followers. I wish I could subscribe to you 1 million times. I mean, I don't think we have few subscribers, guys. Like, I'm not sure if you've seen the stats, but most people don't even get past 1k subscribers. So we're at 16k. That's a lot. That's a lot. And only a very few get to like 1k, 100k. But I do hope that in a couple of years we get there. Of course, I've mentioned this before. I'm not doing this for the fame or anything. I do this because I genuinely enjoy 3D and I enjoy teaching. So if I can put my little grain of sand into the world and give you guys a boost in your artistic journey, that's all I'm asking for. I always sculpt in perspective. Orthogonal looks far too different from photos. Yeah. It's a matter of preference. If you're gonna work with perspective, I don't mind working with perspective. If you guys are gonna work with perspective, one of the advices I can give you is try to use a slightly higher focal length. Because you can see if when we're really close to the character like this, when you turn on perspective, things distort quite heavily, like quite heavily. So if you're gonna be working with perspective, it's better to push this focal length to like a 150 or something like that. And as you can see here, the change is not as much. Okay, so yeah, that's my advice. Like right now, I can continue working now with perspective, and it's gonna be exactly the same. But try to work with a low or a high focal length so that it looks a little bit flatter to you, and there's not a lot of like distortion. Because again, usually when you're doing like a portrait, you're not gonna be using like 35mm lenses. You're gonna be using something like a 90mm or something like that to get like a prettier face on the picture. Mate is what's that? Is mate drink also famous in Mexico like Argentina? No, we don't have it. Well, at least not like as famous as in Argentina. I've never tried it. I've always been curious about it, but I've never tried it. No, this is just water. It's just water with ice. Opinion about creating a blocking of the 3D character in Maya and sending it to ZBrush for the high poly. Perfectly valid. That's the way it was done when I first started, because ZBrush didn't have Dynamesh, for instance. So you would have to start like with a very clean, like very clean mesh inside of Maya, and then bring it into ZBrush. So perfectly valid. Nowadays, I find it faster to just like sculpt inside of ZBrush and then retopologize once you're done. But again, that's all personal preference. Did lose a little bit of that sort of like puffy curved lips, and still has a very sort of like playful personality, so we want to incorporate that into the design. Just got my best render. Could you please check it? Where is it? Is it on the Discord? Petrus? I think her face is starting to look a little bit old with these wrinkles. Smooth and clean them up a little bit. Okay, see that? So that is Mexico telling, hey, there's not enough energy, so your lights are gonna go a little bit dimmer. I don't know, I should definitely try mate. It's definitely one of my... Like, if I ever go to Argentina, of course gonna do that. I know you can get it over here, but I need to get, like, the special container, right? Like, matera, is it called? I've heard it tastes, like, earthy. Kind of like a strong tea. I'm not sure if I'm right there. Saya Art, hi, I'm in the process of creating a real-time character and I'm having difficult understanding at what point I should do the hair cards. Is it after baking and texturing? Normally, yeah. Normally, I do the hair cards after I have the textures. And thanks for the follow, Saya. It's usually after... Normally, I finish the texturing first and then I do the hair cards. Because now you have the texture of your character and it's a lot easier to judge how and where to place the hair cards properly. See, the hair really adds to the character. I'm gonna make the hair a little bit longer. There we go. Now for 3D print, I would love to add some like flyaway hairs and stuff like that, but for 3D print, it's gonna be difficult to 3D print those like super like small hairs. So I'm not gonna be able to do it. But what we can do is we can play a little bit with the shape here of the hair. So we can have this sort of like, because again, she's like the wind, right? So we can have this hair flowing and generating this like crazy looking effects. Oh, Daddy Streams, I think I missed your resub a couple of minutes ago. Thanks for that as well. Cloudy says, hey yo, I just finished watching your Marvel Designer course. Do you plan on doing a course for rendering characters in Unreal 5? I think I include rendering in Unreal Engine 5 with the dwarf on the substance class. I do a quick video on how to render in Unreal Engine 5. But yeah, we'll talk about that. I've been teaching myself 3D for the better part of a year now. Your tutorials were great as you explained why you were doing things. This helped me in making my own decisions on my own models. See, this is something very interesting because this is where you realize that sometimes you have more impact on the life of others than you might think. When I went to Noman, I actually applied for the 2-year program. I only wanted to do the 2-year program, which was all the digital part. This was back when they only had the 2-year and the 3-year program. So I applied to the 2-year program, and the girl that was on admissions at that time, I think her name was Shannon. Don't remember. She was like, you know what? It looks like you have some talent. Like you know your stuff, because I already knew a little bit about 3D at that point. But you don't have anything like special or unique. You're just copying things. You're just doing things that, like I was doing a lot of fan arts and things like that. And it's like, and she was like, I've seen all of this already. I also showed a couple of like tutorials that I've done, and she was like, I don't want to see tutorials. I don't want to see fan art. I want to see you. I want to see Abraham. I want to see Ave. Like, what are you bringing to the table? And she said something that has stuck with me ever since. She said, here at Noman, and when we teach, we don't want to be creating monkey buttons. We don't want to create people who only know what and like what buttons to press and when. We want to make sure that you understand the why of the art, of the craft, right? And ever since then, like, that's what I do. When I teach, I always am like, yeah, that's a great way to learn about the world. Like, not just learn how to do it, learn why you do it. Learn how you do it, of course, but understand the right process. And that's why whenever I teach, I do it that way. I of course, that light's just gonna die. I always teach how to do it, like the process, and why we do it. So now in the newest course, in the anatomy course, we have one lesson that's theory. We learn about muscles, where they are, what they do. And then we have another lesson that's how we sculpt it. So I show how to sculpt that specific muscle. And I've been building the lessons that way, so that, again, I can share with you guys as much of the process as possible. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. So there's multiple ways to do it, Sai Art. If you want like the easiest ones, there's a software called Fibershop, and Fibershop is really good to create cards. So it creates the cards for you, and then the only thing you need to do is place them. So cards have, I've always said this, cards have 3 things that you need to take into account. First is the creation of the cards, then is the placement of the cards, and finally is the shading of the cards. So if you follow if you follow that order, you're gonna realize that like making the cards can be a little bit tricky. You can make them in ZBrush, you can make them in Blender, you can make them wherever you want. I personally normally use Maya to do them, but if you don't want to have any issues and you just want to generate the cards very quickly, Fibershop is really, really good. I've never used it, but I've seen what it does, and again, it just creates the maps that you're going to be using for your cards. So now I mentioned that I don't want to do flyaways. we're just gonna do a couple of them. Jack Swifter, what's up, man? Welcome. And the reason why flyaways are so good is because they break the form and the silhouette quite nicely. So we're gonna have the main block of the hair, as you can see right here. And then we're gonna have those flyaways. We're gonna add some more later. No, the anatomy course is not ready yet, Cloudy. It's gonna take a little bit longer. Exactly, Turtling. That is the exact thing that I want with my tutorials. When I teach, and I do this in every single tutorial, I teach the why of things, so that you can then take that information and do your own stuff. Because if there's one thing that I hate about other tutorials, is when they do what you're mentioning, where they show you how to, for instance, sculpt or model a vehicle or a gun, but they don't show you the thought process behind it. So when you want to translate that into doing your own, like, I don't know, like robot or Gundam or whatever, you can't, because you don't really understand the tool. You just follow steps and you got a result, but it's more like following a recipe. There's a difference between following a recipe and learning how to cook, right? Well, it's the exact same thing with 3D. It's not the same thing to learn how to do a model or how to render something than it is to understand the modeling process or understand the rendering process, so that you can adapt that to whatever it is you're doing. Here I'm using the snake hook brush. We can like change silhouettes a little bit here on the hair. Nicolas, what's up, man? Welcome. And I'm very tempted to use a brush that I normally don't use, which is the spiral brush. Because again, since she is like a wind character, we can really like push things around, and that's gonna make her hair look really interesting. What do you guys think? Should we try something like this, where her hair is kind of like winds and clouds? Do you like how this looks? It's kind of interesting. I think I kind of like it. Because again, it gives this very windy, ephemeral sort of like look. Sculpting hair is probably the most challenging part. Patience. Yeah, it's challenging. It's time consuming. More than challenging, I would say it's time consuming. Like, you really do need to spend quite a bit of time like polishing and cleaning hair. And look at references. There's a lot of like Japanese figures, and most of those are sculpted. It's the hair is sculpted, so it's it looks good. Why no one makes curly hair with curly curves? Oh, it's even more challenging, curly hair. But yeah, you can use curves. I like that. I think I like this sort of like fluffy. It's nice to see the character from the front. Yeah. I think it looks good. I'm not fond of the arms right now. I think they look too big. And one thing we can do is just use the knife curve. Let me save. I haven't saved in a while. Not really. I think cut the arms right there. I'm not sure if the breasts are. Oh. Give me 1 second, guys. There we go. Yeah, I like this. I like this. We're getting there. We're getting there. Now let's go for the dress. We're already at 1.4 million, so as you can see, 1.4 is making the cleanup of shapes a little bit tricky. Not impossible, but once you start increasing the amount of topology, things definitely become better. They become more complicated. What do you think about remesh workflow for hard surface modeling? I like it. That's fine. Is 300 hours for creating a 3D character are optimal? No, I think 300 hours is a little bit on the high side, Sai. So you need to think about production, right? So in production, you're usually going to be working 40 hours per week. It's the like average estimate. So 40 hours per week for times 4 weeks, that's 160 hours. So in your case, 300 hours would be 2 months of work. If you're doing like Kratos from God of War, then yeah, I guess that could be a good. But for a more like normal character, I think 2 months of work is a little bit too much. Normally, I would say 1 month for a character. So 160 hours, 120 hours is a good amount for a AAA character. Hi, Abe. I saw this about Stormlight actor. What character are you doing? Have you read it, Dancer? What character do you think this is right here? Oh, sorry, I was hiding the the reference image. What character do you think this is? You've read it, you should know which one it is. Haven't read it, don't worry. No one's gonna spoil anything, because someone spoils anything, is gonna be immediately banned. And I am not kidding. That's right, Seal. Don't worry, man, don't worry. I'm excited as you are. I was telling everyone that I just finished reading Words of Radiance yesterday, or like 2 days ago, and I was just hyped. I was like, oh, I have to do something. I have to do something about Stormlight Archive. Here's, look at this, guys. One thing we can do is we can already grab like a... This is not something that I do all the time, but you can actually like feel the object with like a hue or like a tone similar to what you're going for. And that way you also get a very nice idea of how things are gonna look. Now I think we can definitely go to these guys and make them darker. Color my fill object. Change to toy plastic here. For eyes, toy plastic is really good because it's shiny. So if we say MRGV with white, let's say color fill object. Color fill object. We can go back to our my material. And you get this sort of like different idea of how the character is working. Hey Abe, I was wondering when you do know when you're done with secondary forms while sculpting. It's a great question. I'm not sure. I mean, once you're happy with I guess once you're happy with the form, but sometimes you just gotta like like accept that you're done, or that's the end of it, and that's pretty much it. So it depends a lot. I hate to give those answers, but unfortunately, production-wise, sometimes there's this famous quote. I think it's what's Da Vinci. I'm not sure if it's Da Vinci or what's the word, or Van Gogh, that says that art is never finished, it's just abandoned. So there comes a point where you're like, hey, you know what, like I could keep pushing this, but I'm happy where we're at, so that's more than enough. In production, this is very important, and I always make this distinction, right? Like right now I'm having fun, I'm taking my time, I'm just enjoying the process. In production, time and money are very important, so there's gonna be a moment where I'm like, hey, like let's suppose there's another Abe and I'm the artist doing this. The other Abe, the art director, comes and they're like, hey, that's it, man. We cannot do any further. We need to deliver this. So please just finish and start retopologizing or start texturing. Garther, thanks for the sub, man. Thank you very much. And thanks for the follow as well. And welcome to the team. So, yeah, it depends. There's always a little bit of that. Stormlight is so good. Never read a book so fast in my life, and your still is looking great. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad. I'm gonna tag Sanderson after I'm finished with this one. Maybe I'll get a retweet or something. But I'm glad other fans right here are appreciating the way Sil is looking. She's a very important character, of course, on the whole series, right? So, or at least on the 2 books that I've read so far, she's really, really important. Okay, so for the dress, what are we gonna do with the dress? We have 2 options. We can sculpt directly on top of this forms that we have right here, on top of the breast area, or we can what's the word? Or we can do it as a separate subtool. Which one do you guys think is the best option? Which one would you say is the best option? What are the advantages? Here's a better question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of sculpting this on top or as a separate tool? That's a good question, right? The Clouds, welcome, man. Opinion on Nikolai Knightenov? I don't know who Nikolai is. Is he the speed character guy? If it's the speed character guy, we talked about him before. I really like. It's very impressive that he can make characters so fast. But one thing that I was mentioning earlier on the stream is that in production, you're normally gonna have more time. Like, you don't need to rush that things, and that's one of the things that I was mentioning earlier with this character. Like, good things take time, so don't be afraid of spending enough time working on your characters. Like, you are gonna need to work on your characters for a good amount of time. I think I'm gonna cover the ears. I kind of like that ear, but at the same time, I like the flowiness of the hair. So I'm probably gonna cover it. BRB Turtling. Oh, there you are, man. You jumped from YouTube. Thanks, man. Thanks for the follow. I would paint on top and extrude as a subtool. Yeah, exactly. It's better to just extract. And the reason mainly is, there's 2 main reasons for this. One of them is, as you guys are mentioning, it has more control. And the other one is the border. When 2 elements mix, it's a very important thing. So when you have 2 surfaces, there you go. So when you have an overlap, right? Like, let's say we have a cube right here. It's not the same thing to have this super harsh, like 90-degree angle than it is to merge them together and then smooth it out a little bit and create this effect. So for a sharper sort of like separation of forms, it's better to have separated objects as well. So here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the side view. I'm going to mask this area right here. So I'm gonna go with this sort of like princess corset cut. It's gonna go like that. And then a little bit of a cleavage, not too much. We don't want to make it like super like sexualized or anything. It's just a little bit of cleavage there. There we go, that looks good. And then I'm gonna go to geometry. No, sorry, not geometry. Subtool. We're gonna extract. There we go. So this is what we have. Now, I don't want the back part. We can cut it later, but might as well cut it already. Same for the bottom part. So I'm gonna go select lasso, and we're gonna remove that back part and remove this front part. We can later do more cuts and more stuff, but there we go. Perfect. So we delete hidden. I'm gonna go to deformation. We're gonna polish by features a little bit. There we go. And then we're gonna zero mesh. Geometry, zero mesh, zero mesh. There we go. Then we're gonna go half and zero mesh again, and again, and again, and again, and again. As you can see, we have a super low poly like dress right there. We're gonna go dynamic subdiv, and if we add thickness, we're gonna be able to see the dress. That's a little bit too thick, but I also don't want to make it super thin, because if we make it super thin, then it becomes a little bit of a problem later on. Now, one thing that I notice here is that we got a little bit of separation there on the center, and that's giving us way more cleavage that I want. So I'm gonna go see modeler, and we're gonna go with at the points we're gonna say stitch. Hey. I said not stitching. Oh, that's really weird. Oh, let me get rid of. There we go. There we go. Now when we subdivide, maybe that last one we can avoid. There we go, that's better. Oh my god. There we go. I know it's not symmetrical, but don't worry, I actually don't want it to be symmetrical. So here's where we're gonna have the thickness. Perfect. So let's apply this. Move this down a little bit. And now here, as you can see on that dress, very pretty. There's this like cloth detail going in this direction. Again, she's a wingspan, so wink wink. So she's very flowy. We're gonna go with this very flowy effect. If this for something like 3D printing, is there a reason to have the dress so low poly? No, I just subdivided. It was just to get a better control on the elements first. And once we have the good control, we can change things. Separate tool is better for dress if you're going to make some folds in the dress. Yeah, both of them work. Again, since this is for 3D print, I'm trying to keep things very sculptural. And as I've mentioned before, there's plenty of tools. At the end of the day, what matters is the sort of result that you get. So if it looks good at the final result, I really don't care what tool you use. I want to flatten it a little bit, so I'm going to use trim dynamic here too, flatten some of those wrinkles. And then from inside here we get the other flow here with the dress. As you can see, we keep the form, look good there. We add another subdivision there. when we 3D print this, we can get some nice results. Do studios cover the software you use when you get hired? Yes, they do. Ideally, right? Here's an unfortunate situation about every industry again. And I don't know what part of the world you guys are from, but for instance, here in Mexico, right? Like doctors get are complaining all the time because they work for our social security system, and they don't get the medicines, they don't get the equipment, their cloths, and things like that. Teachers work for the public education system, and they don't get the materials and again their supplies and things like that. So normally and ideally, a good studio should provide you with the necessary softwares that you're going to be using. So if you're going to be using ZBrush, they're going to provide you with a ZBrush license. That, of course, once you stop working for them, they're going to keep, right? So they are paying for their licenses, and while you're there, you work for them. Again, unfortunately, a lot of studios out there, they don't care. They go and sail the Black Seas, and they're just asking for trouble. Because if at any point one of those big companies decides to sue them, they're gonna be in for a big issue. But yeah, normally a studio should give you the softwares. If you're working as a freelancer, though, that's a different story, because as a freelancer, you are expected to pay for your licenses, and due to that, you should also charge more, right? Because on your price, you should be charging for your time, for the product, and for the licenses that you're gonna be using. This thing kind of looks like a weird band here on the side, so kind of like this division. It's like a different division for the dress, so like some fibers. I don't really know where these fibers are going. Kind of seem to be going up instead. Thanks for the follow, Juriel. Thank you very much. How much do freelancers usually make? It depends, man. Pricing wise, it's very, very difficult to pinpoint like a proper number, because not everyone makes the same. Not all the projects are the same. Not all the clients pay the same. Depending on what country you are, the amount might be slightly different. So yeah, there's a lot of variables involved. But one thing that you can do to get an idea, there's Glassdoor. There's this site called Glassdoor that gives you an idea of how much a 3D artist makes. And just Google things up. So, for instance, I know that an hourly rate for a 3D artist in the US can go from $35, $55, $85 an hour, depending on your skill level, on your specialty, things like that. But if you're in Mexico, there's no way you're going to be getting paid $85 an hour as an artist in a studio. If you're a freelancer, then yeah, maybe you might be able to charge that as a freelancer. But in a studio, just look for the average salary in your country. Look for how much like a lawyer makes, or like a medic makes, and that gives you an idea of how much you're going to be doing. Because at the end of the day, unfortunately or fortunately, what we do is very fun. So since what we do, everyone likes, or most of us who are doing what we do love what we do, sometimes the market is not going to support that, and they're going to try to pay you less than you deserve. But you should be making what someone with a bachelor's degree in any other area makes. So you should be, because of what we do is very specialized, you should be making a nice livable wage. You're not going to be a millionaire, and you're not going to be making $300,000 a year being a 3D artist, unless you are producing. Like if you're on the producer side of things, like if you're making the projects happen, then yeah, you're going to be on a higher side of things. But if you're just in a studio as part of the team, then like getting to those big numbers might be complicated. Really want to sculpt a little bit on the eyes. Let's see if we can do it. Eyes are tricky because, for instance, those eyes, they look kind of like droopy, kind of like she's tired. So we might need to open up her eyes a little bit or something. Again, Cloudy, it depends a lot. Like, it's not the same thing to work for Blizzard as a senior character artist that it is to work for, I don't know, a smaller studio as a senior character artist, like Respawn Entertainment or something. Well, I'm not saying Respawn is small, but you know what I mean, right? So every single place will have different like tabs to keep or to give you a specific range of salaries. Depending on where it's not the same payment in Los Angeles that it is in Seattle, that it is in Washington, that it is in, I don't know, in the middle of nowhere. Like if you're working in in a studio in Wisconsin or something, then you might have a different amount of payment, because the cost of living and all of these other variables also play an important part on the whole process, right? So one of the advices in regards to payment and money that I can give you guys is never work for free. That's very important. You never want to be doing your work for free, because you have spent time and money learning all of the things that we do. So it's important that you get remunerated or paid for that hard work that you've learned to do. And always try to go for a living wage, like something that allows you to pay for your bills, pay for your food, pay for your social security and things like that, pay for your taxes, and of course, like, eventually be able to travel, fight for your rights, depending on what country you're in. Certain countries offer more vacation time than others, things like that. So it's always important to try to do that. Raspora, I'm working on a character from Stormlight Archives called Syl. She's a windsprint, and we're doing this bust for 3D print. So today, in this 3 hours, we're about to finish, by the way, guys. We're about to finish today's stream, but I'm gonna show you a comparison of what we were able to create, where we started, and where we are now. And one of the things that I liked about this stream, guys, and I mentioned this before, is that I was able to work at like a normal speed. Like, this is the speed that I would normally work on when I'm working on projects. So I was not rushing. I was like taking my time to make sure that everything was as clean and as nice as possible. So let's take a quick look at how we did today. Save. So I'm sure there's like a quick save or something. Yeah, there we go. Let's go with this one. This one's like an yeah. Let's grab this one. So this is how we started. This was earlier today, like 3 hours ago. And then we jumped to this one right here, which was looking a little bit better. Not great, but a little bit better. And finally, we got here. So, not bad, right? Not freaking bad, I would say. Not freaking bad. From absolutely nothing to this in 3 hours, taking the chill, answering questions, having fun. I'm gonna call this a successful stream so far. I definitely want to finish her. I'm probably gonna be doing it on my free time, to be honest. I'm not sure if I want to record the whole process, because still, again, a lot of polishing that needs to be involved. And this is one of like those sort of like passion projects of just like enjoying, having a good time, and just relaxing a little bit. That's a flex. I'm not sure if it's a flex, but I'm just happy that I was able to show you this process, guys. And again, remember, I do this not only to have fun for myself, but also to inspire you guys, and hopefully to get you guys to create very cool things. There we go. So I want you guys to do your own stuff. I want to see the amazing things that you guys do. And as someone here is asking, I do portfolio reviews. If you're new to the channel, we do a portfolio review every month. We're probably going to be changing things. We're probably going to be changing things as we go forward, because I've seen a sort of like trend in the latest portfolio reviews when there's a lot of portfolios from people who are just starting their 3D journey. And even though I love helping everyone, there is a point where you should be worrying about your portfolio. And when you're just starting, it's not the point. That's not the moment to be worrying about that. So it takes a little bit of time. So I'm gonna be thinking about how to change the dynamic on the portfolio a little bit. So yeah, let's answer some questions before we finish today. And yeah, this is the final result of today's stream. The stream is going to be available tomorrow here on YouTube, the rerun. So if you missed it, you guys can check it out tomorrow as well. And let's see. Ali, if you work remotely at a studio in a different country, you should get paid based on where the studio is located, which for me, for instance, is an awesome thing, because when I work for studios from the US, I get paid in dollars, and the dollar is worth more than the peso, right? So I have more, what's the word, buying power with the dollar here in Mexico. So you should always charge based on where the studio is located, or where the currency is best, pretty much. So yeah. Big Mike, Raspora, and Barba Negra, thanks for the follow, my friends. You're helping us get to the goal of 1300. Thank you very much. Lord Terran says, just pick up the OD tutorial. I'm excited to get started on it. Yeah, if you guys want to check the courses that I have, because all of this, of course, there's a lot of free content here on my channel, but you can have like more in-depth and more like explained things along with exercises and things here on my site. It's aveleal3d.com. And we got 6 courses. If you like ZBrush, if you like this stream where we were doing that seal right now, then the best one to start with is this one, the ZBrush stylized character. This is actually one of our longest courses so far. I think it's like 20 hours, so it's very, very in-depth about ZBrush. But if you want to learn about Substance Painter or Marvelous or Maya, these are all of the other courses right here. Let's see. How do you add dirt layers and scratches without UVs? You don't. That's the fun part. You don't. You cannot add that sort of stuff without UVs. You can poly paint them if you want, but if you want to add dirt layers and stuff like that without Substance Painter, you need UVs. You need UVs. Jorge Garcia, I missed the name of the page where you can calculate the money you can charge for freelance work. No, I didn't show any page, man. I'm sure there's one out there, but my advice is try to find out how much someone, like, here, I'm gonna show you. This is what I would do. For instance, let's say I'm in Peru. So if I look for Peru income lawyer monthly. Okay, so it says here that an attorney gets 404,000, I don't know what it is, Peruvian something, right? So that's what a normal lawyer does, and that's roughly where our sort of skills are at, like someone who has an education, like college education. So then you translate that, so that's 440 pen to USD. So as you can see, that's 1,171 US dollars. You might think that's a little bit too little, that you might think that's too much. That's up to interpretation. It depends a lot on where you're living, right? But I would try to multiply this by at least 1.2 or 1.5. So let's say 1.5. So I'm going to say $160,000. Okay? So if it's 160 and it's going to take you 2 weeks to do something, you can charge, again, around $800 if you're in Peru. Again, this is if you're in Peru, right? Because $800 for 2 weeks of work in Peru is really good. In the US, no way, Jose. That's not how you do it. In the US, I'm gonna say you're probably gonna be at like, let's say 85,000 for a year. So maybe what, like, I suck at math. 85,000 divided by 12. There we go. So it's 700. It's actually not that far off. So yeah, like that seems a little bit little though. Like $400 for 2 weeks of work. That seems a little bit little. But yeah, it's all about like trying to find the balance on how much you need to charge to live comfortably where you are, pay for your taxes, pay for your softwares, learn and get some savings. So it's a lot about numbers, right? And unfortunately, again, sometimes you're gonna have to take some works or jobs that are gonna be paying a little bit lower, and sometimes you're gonna get some jobs that are paying way higher than you were expecting. It has happened to me where I've gotten paid a lot for things that I thought were very, very simple. Oh yeah, there, missed a zero. There we go. That's why it was wrong. So $85,000 divided by 12. That's how much you should try to get as an artist in the US, I would say, to again live comfortably if possible. I know it's not always possible. And then if you divide this by 4, well, that's how much per week. So yeah, like like this same work that a Peruvian 3D artist might be charging $1,000 for, you as a US artist, you might be charging $2,000 for it, $3,000 for it, because again, the cost of living is way different. So it changes a lot. And again, I'm talking about like 85,000, at least from what I've heard from my peers. It's already on the high levels of a 3D artist. As a junior, I've heard that in the US, you might be making 50K a year, 60K a year, 65K a year, and then you need to remove taxes. So I wish I had more information. I wish I was an economist to give you guys the exact solution on how much you must charge or should charge. But again, it's a very like particular case. Like everyone is gonna have a slightly different number there. Yeah, I'm gonna make a video about that, Solid Mango, about the doors armor, how I did the process, because it's definitely it definitely takes a little bit of time. There you go. Yeah, Rachel, I agree. Like from 50K to 65K is probably gonna be your range as a junior role, and then from 65K to like 85K, you're gonna get into the sort of like senior or higher level roles, and then once you go into producer roles or lead roles, you can go higher and higher and higher. But it depends quite a bit on a lot of factors: geography, projects, skill level, connections. So yeah. Well, that's it, guys. I'm very happy with how this turned out. I was very scared at the beginning because it was looking horrible, but again, you gotta trust the process. If you follow the process, if you follow the tools that we know, and you just keep polishing and polishing, you can get to a better or a very nice result as well at the very end. So that's it, my friends. Thank you very much for being here. This was a special stream. 3 hours. It was 3 hours of work, and it's gonna be available tomorrow here on the YouTube channel. So if you missed some parts of this process, feel free to come back later and check it out. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I wish you guys have a great I hope you guys have a great weekend. Keep learning, keep improving. Try to learn something new during the weekend about the 3D world, or about something that's going to get you closer to your goal. And that's it. Follow us on all of our socials. Join our Discord if you want to chat more. And I'll be seeing you back on the next one. Bye-bye.